on, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live. Right now, please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope Soul sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, Brooklyn. All my people, you rocking with the chat. Hit that. The like button would tell me where you at. You know, step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady, way she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
What?
Dope Soul.
What?
Your soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Salute, Nick family. Welcome to the Just Nickin' It Weekly Show. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka Queen, and as always, we have a lot to talk about. This is the first of two shows this week. Today, we'll do a regular season recap. We'll talk a little bit about the playoffs. We're not sure who will be playing, so we'll talk about Miami and Philly. The Thursday show, we're going to do a deep dive into our playoff opponent. So I'm looking forward to that. With no further ado, because this is going to be a long one, I'm bringing in Jerrell. Jerrell ain't been here in a minute. How you doing, big fella?
I'm good. Good spirits. I'm glad to be here finally. It seemed like it's been forever.
Yeah, definitely. We miss you too. Ajay, how are you?
Salute, Queen. Always a pleasure to be here, and always a pleasure to be hanging out with you, Jerrell. Granted, it's been like 2 months. Delusional and Jeff. It's always good hanging out with you guys and talking about the Knicks and talking and interacting with the chat.
Yes, so. Delusional. How are you? Always on the roll, but he made a appearance today. We appreciate you. How you doing?
Well, of course. You know, when we get 50 wins, you know, I'm in that dope soul vibe. So that's what we're doing.
No doubt. And Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. What a season. What a great opportunity. What a great community and what a great panel. It's the best of all worlds right now, man. That pie in the sky is just in the cloud.
No doubt. Let me make sure my stuff is working. Oh, it's not working. Wait, hold on. Oh, there we go. All right, so it's working. Shout out to the chat, JJ. J-Tap, I haven't been so excited about the postseason since the 1990s. Hey, you know what?
J-Tap.
You know what? I was excited in 2013, but I just feel like it's been such a, I wouldn't even say a roller coaster. It's been such a mess since then. You're right, J-Tap. You're right. I'm probably more excited now than I was in 2013.
Excuse me. I was excited the bubble season. I was very excited to be finally back in the playoffs after a long stretch with no playoff appearances.
Yeah, true. You're right about that too. True. Yeah, you're right about that too. All right, let's start off. I just want to do this really quick, just a team snapshot. All right, I'm gonna have to take away my coffee. You know, so those who are in here early who want to buy me a coffee, you got to get a quick picture right now before I take it down because it's interfering with our slides. All right. The Knicks were 50-32 on the season, 4-0 this last week of the season, we finished second in the Eastern Conference. We're going into the playoffs on a 5-game winning streak. Offensive rating is 7th for the season. Defensive rating is 9th for the season. Net rating, which is the difference between our offense and defense, is 5th. In the league. The last 10 though, so this is how we're going into the playoff. The last 10, our offense is ranked 3rd. Our defense is only ranked 24. I expect that to turn up a little bit in the playoffs. And our net rating the last 10 games is 12. All right. If you watch Queen's Court, everybody knows or should know I'm the host of the Queen's Court on the Nothing But Knicks channel. Shout out to Simeon Russell and the NBA crew. Some of these questions may be the same as yesterday, but I believe if you have a new panel, it's a new show, even if the questions are the same. And because most of everybody on the panel anyway is astute you kind of get a chance to sleep on it, think about what somebody said yesterday, and kind of amend your thoughts a little bit. I'm notorious for doing that. So anyway, let's get into the first question. Your overall thoughts on the season, and did the Knicks meet or exceed your preseason expectations? Jerrell?
All right. For me, I do remember what my prediction was. I said 52 to 55 games. So record wise, we obviously didn't get there, but for me, it was strictly because of injury.
Right.
I think we actually could have got to 60 wins if we was fully healthy all season. So I think, the team exceeded my expectations by the way they're playing with each other. I it's not like I didn't have faith in Tom Thibodeau, but he obviously had a great season. With all the injuries that we had, this team could have folded, especially when Julius Randle went down. And they could have folded when they found out that he was done for the year. And we've actually been better since that point.
Right.
When they found out that news. So we got the second seed. I have no arguments. THIBS is a great coach. Jalen Brunson is obviously who he is. And we have a good team going into the playoffs. The first round matchup is going to be tough for us regardless of who wins. But yeah, the team expectations from the preseason, yeah, it definitely exceeded those.
Yeah, I totally agree. Ajay? Let me just shout out Thai Cowboys. Evening all. I'm at work, but listening in. Let's go Knicks. Appreciate you listening to us at work, and everybody else listening that's not in the chat and the replay game. Appreciate you. It's a dope show planned for tonight. Trust me.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Well, so and I too, like Jerrell, I remember what my prediction, but remember we had two predictions, right? We had one before the season, and then we had another one when Julius Randle started the season stinking up the joint.
Yeah.
And right. So my first prediction was 50 to 55. The second one was 45 to 50 tops. It's like, so 50 was somewhere in the middle, but the second one was 45 to 50. So we exceeded that. And the reason why we exceeded that is my prediction was 50. Everybody fully healthy, all hands on deck but because we miss like so many guys, so many games missed by so many top guys, I think we exceeded that because with that, the expectation really, if we had another show, like what would your expectation be? It would have dropped because of all the injuries, because of all the times that those guys missed. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we definitely exceeded it. So my 50 was probably not right because it was 50 with the full team. So if we had the full team, we definitely would have won way more than 50 games. But yeah, so definitely I felt they exceeded the expectation.
Right. Your thoughts on just the overall season? Anything stick out for you? Any bodies stick out for you?
A lot. And I don't know if you want to go over that now or throughout the show. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, you could spill some of it now.
Well, I mean, aside from we
do have a segment on Brunson though.
Well, okay, so I'll do like an overall and then not really go into individuals. A lot of players they're hitting their stride, they're hitting their peak like at the right time in this season. They're playing their best ball this season, and I'm talking literally everybody on the team, every one of them. I mean, this has been their best season, and that includes the coaching staff. Tom Thibodeau has been doing stuff this season that he's never done in the past. He's adjusting mid-game. And this is something we're not accustomed to. So he's listening to his guys. He's listening. He's letting Rick Brunson get in there, getting his ears. I'm pretty sure Johnny Bryant has something to do with it, but we don't see him he's not as visible as Rick Brunson. You see Rick Brunson on the floor, like getting in those guys' ears and talking to them. So there's a few things that he's been flexible. He's been more flexible this season. All right. And, we're playing better defense sometimes because sometimes we play really great defense. Sometimes there's no defense to start the game. I mean, so and we got to tighten that up, when come playoff time, because otherwise it's going to be a very short run. Listen, I know we're going to talk about individual players every now and then, but overall, the whole team, like everybody's put in the effort, including the coaching staff.
Yeah. I agree. Delusional.
So Knicks 100% exceeded expectations from my point of view. Definitely with all the trials and situations that we've been through, starting the season, Julius is hurt. Everyone questioning what's going on with him, but the effect of the ankle surgery definitely wore off. RJ coming along. So, we had definitive players that we were counting on that ended up out and traded, even with the expectations of Quentin Grimes that we had going in. That was a disappointment for a lot of people, even myself. But then we got Dante DiVincenzo out of that, his emergence of him showcasing what he could do in that system. And then, like, AJ said, once Tib realized the players that he got and the style that they can play, just kind of elevated the game and elevated the offense as well. Injuries to Jules, to Mitch, we thought that, kind of was the end of the season for us. But then, the OG trade came in, seeing how they adapted. Now, as crazy as I'm quoting, orange and blue skies, orange and blue skies got everybody feeling like that. So definitely exceeded. Now it got me to the point, as delusional as I am, I'm thinking Knicks is the best team in the East, regardless of what Boston record is stating. Look at what we did to Boston in that manner without Julius. And they had a full team as well. So that's how I'm feeling.
Wow, he feeling really, really good. All right, delusional.
I leave the show and people.
I got to throw out a delusional take every now and then. But I'm going to stand by this. It's a brand name.
Delusional, remember, they weren't trying.
Right.
They weren't trying. Yeah.
Right.
Steph, I left the show for a couple of weeks. Delusional said we the best in the East. AJ is a THIBS fan now. What is going
That's
on?
what I'm saying. A lot has. Oh, wait, you know what you missed on Queen's Court? You were in the chat. I believe Keith Turner.
Yes.
That's something positive to say.
Yes. I said, look at Keith. I was like, okay, Keith. All right.
The Knicks lose one playoff game. It's going to be like a funeral up in here. We come back.
It's a wrap, dude.
Right. You know how we turn. Jeff, thoughts on the season and whether or not the Knicks met or exceeded your expectations?
Well, they won as many games as I said they would at the beginning of the year, but the way that they went about it exceeds every expectation. And I'm glad Delusional is here, because when we were talking before we went on air, it really kind of hit me that this season really reminds me of 1984. The Bernard King season where he was just, and I don't want to badmouth the rest of the players on that team, but Bernard was the guy, and he just carried us, and he carried us, and he carried us, and he almost carried us past the Celtics. Interestingly enough, same team, 40 years difference, and he has that vibe, that just unstoppable scorer, with with all the 40-point. And I don't want to get into Brunson too much, because I know we're going to do that later. But the whole season, but so it has that same vibe to me. But I think the supporting cast is so much better.
Yes,
that it feels better. It feels different. It feels more like the attitude of this team and the culture that's been set by the whole organization is, look, we're just gonna we have our game plan, and if we execute our game plan correctly, it doesn't matter who we have in front of us, we're gonna win that game. Period. And that is a far cry from 5 years ago, and when I just remember being crestfallen when Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving went went to the Nets, and I was like, oh man. And then we signed 800 power forwards, and I was like, what are we doing? And there was just and all of a lot of those players ended up having key. We made a good deal for Marcus Morris, and that got us the draft pick, and that ended up being Emmanuel Quickly, and other things happened out of that. And Julius Randle obviously got signed that offseason. So not that good things didn't come from that, but there wasn't a cohesive plan, and I think even this year, a lot of Knicks fans were saying, what's the plan? Like, are we going with the youth movement? When are we going to get the big star? What direction are we going? We're straddling the fence here. This doesn't seem like a team that's straddling the fence anymore. This is a team that has a definite direction. It has a definite plan, and and this team deserves its due. But it's so much more beyond that. Like, this is not. That's the difference between this team and the 2012-2013 team, right? That team had so many veterans on it that everyone said that it's not really sustainable. It was, a flash in the pan, one hit wonder. And really, that team revolutionized the sport. They were the Warriors before the Warriors were the Warriors, right? We were shooting threes and going crazy with all that stuff. Before the Warriors were even a thing. So that was a precursor to that we don't really get credit for. But besides that, once we made bad moves after that, and that hurt us too. But we had so many guys like Rashid and Kidd who were just honestly at the end of their rope. And, Kurt Thomas, bless his heart. I mean, you always have a soft spot for Kurt
Crazy
Thomas.
Eyes, the first one.
Yeah, amen. So, but you had all those guys, but it didn't have the feel of long-term sustainability. And this is really so amazing and so impressive because it has the hope of a fun journey this year, but it also has the feel about this is the beginning of the opening of the window. You know what I mean? And that the window is going to be open for the next 3 or 4 years. And you get that feeling like we had in the Ewing era where we were going to be in the second round of the playoffs. And it was a question of, are we going to get further than that? You know what I mean? So to be able to bring back all of that and encapsulate all of that in one season, I mean, that's just far exceeding any expectation of my wildest dreams. We went from not sure about the direction of this team to I love the direction of this team.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. When that trade went down, and that was after a loss, Toth. And I've said this before, I do think that trade for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly was on the table for some time. I don't think it was something that just came together really quickly. And I think we had a bad loss, so I don't know if it was a bad stretch. And then the next thing you know, boop, we're a different team. Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett are out of here. And I think that signaled the Knicks crossing over, so to speak, and saying, you know what, it's time to cash in some of these chips and start moving toward championship contention. And listen, Emmanuel Quickly was good for us. He was coming into his own. RJ Barrett was up and down throughout his career, but at the beginning of that season, we were like, whoa, RJ Barrett has finally, turned the corner. So you're right, Jeff. When they made that trade, it was like, you know what? Yeah, the direction we're going in is solidified right now. We're not straddling the fence between, because I always said we got Randle and Brunson, who's ready, in my opinion anyway. And then we had a supporting cast that was young and still needed to develop and get experience. And it seemed like what are we doing here? That trade signified that, yeah, we're going for it. And then the next thing you know, the other trade for Grimes to shore up the bench. Because when OG came and we were 15-2 in January, I think they said, you know what? Maybe this team has a chance. Let's see if we can get them a little bench help. Now, it didn't work out the way At least I thought it would, work out. But I think that's what the front office was thinking. Let's get them some bench help and let's see, what's going to happen. I still believe the front office did not want to push all of their chips, despite the trades they made. They didn't want to put all their chips into the middle of this table this season. They wanted to maintain flexibility. They wanted to see with the collective bargaining agreement who might come open this season, and we want to maintain our flexibility. So let's straddle the line, give them a little something, see what they can do, but we're not going to go all in until the summer. Brunson stood out for me. We'll talk about that. I didn't think he had another level. I thought he played great for us last season, and boom, another level. The way this team battled when Mitchell Robinson went down, how Hartenstein stepped up, when Randall went down, how the rest of the team stepped up. The culture that Thibodeau brought when he came, so it wasn't something that they had to be like, oh, now we got to do this next man up mentality. No, that's how the Knicks have been operating all along. And just seeing them dig a little deeper, Josh Hart dig a little deeper, Hartenstein, McBride, we'll talk about him, just digging a little deeper to make sure we can keep this season afloat has been impressive. It really has been impressive. Anything else about this season that stood out for you? Yeah. Anything else?
What do you mean exactly by stood out? Like good, bad, indifferent?
Good, bad, indifferent. It could be attitude. You could talk about the front office if you wanted to. You can talk a little. We're gonna do a segment on Thibodeau as well. We're gonna do a segment on Brunson. We're gonna do a segment on who's your non-Brunson player of the year. We'll talk about that. Okay. We'll also talk about who's your unsung hero or surprise of the season.
Right.
That's like 50 topics, but anything other than that, if you want to.
That's what I was about to say. Like anything that I say right now is going to bleed into the other topic. Just how yeah. But you say we was going to talk about Tibbs. I love the way Tibbs had the team playing this year.
Yeah.
I'll just say that because we're going to talk about Tibbs later. But the way that we obviously play for each other, we never quit.
Right.
Like that's a testament to Tibbs.
No doubt. What do you think about that change in the lineup? How much do you think that helped us when we got DiVincenzo and iHeart into the starting lineup? And obviously iHeart had to come at the expense of Mitch going down. But how much did that help us? How much did that help us?
I think it was huge because the two players that they were replacing, just from an offensive IQ standpoint, is just way higher. Like Dante DiVincenzo and iHeart compared to Grimes and Mitch is like night and day when it comes to what they can actually do and what they're capable of on the court right now. So I don't know. It was very, very big. Those two additions were the reason. Obviously, Jalen Brunson was a huge reason. He should be getting MVP votes. But that lineup change with those two players completely changed our team going forward.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Probably maybe the front office probably tap in a little bit because remember when we first got here, they brought in Cam, and a player that didn't really stick too well with Tibbs' philosophy. And we had to learn the hard way regarding that the front office to say, hey, all right, Tibbs, what style of players you need? Let's be on the same page so that we can actually function as one unit rather than us just bringing in players and expecting Tibbs to make it work. And that's when we kind of clicked, with making certain trades. And obviously the draft picks that we got, Rather, we needed to sell back and get more assets and knowing how to draft, because that's been a huge thing for us as well. You know, we could have had DeMar DeRozan one year, we could have had Donovan Mitchell one year, so we could have had certain these players. And the Knicks finding gems with these later picks that we had, and making the right decisions, and still not getting rid of all our assets to go after Donovan Mitchell. You know, all the fans kind of wanted that, but maybe, you know, Tibbs and the organization don't see that as the key player. And I believe that CAA, they have someone in particular that they know. They're actually operating as as a secret organization that's moving within the shadows, that's making deals behind the back. Like you said, that deal that went down so quick, like you said, that probably was building before, that didn't leak when we used to have information leaking out. So we actually have a front office that should get executive of the year if you really think about it, you know, with these trades I've done and what it's done for the organization. So definitely want to give kudos to them.
Yeah. What was one defining moment of the season? Was it the change in offense with Devo and iHeart? Was it the trade for OG? Was it how the team responded after that 4-8 month we had in February? What do you think was, I don't know, whether you want to call it a turning point, a defining moment, or you know, something in the season that was significant? Delusional?
Well, I think the biggest change was the Grimes for Dante switch, because Dante's started knocking down 3-pointers instantly, which is spacing the floor. Now you can't sag off of Brunson. I mean, you can't sag off of Dante or double team Brunson, because that's a guaranteed bucket. Before with Quentin, yes, he had games, but it wasn't as consistent with that. Then, of course, when Mitch went down, mind you, Mitch was a leading candidate, or in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. Right. So that was something that he brought on the defensive end. But on the offensive end now, like you said, it brought it that IQ, which kind of changed everything. I think when Tibbs realized that, okay, we've had players that can do certain things with the spacing, with the, you know, Villanova guys, that chemistry alone kind of changes it as well. Right. They've played with each other for years, so they know. So they're actually running things that's not even sets in the Knicks offense. So that changes that. So now, like you said, it's unpredictable. So once that became a situation for the Knicks where they actually switched the lineup, that changed that, because now you can run motion where certain things are not set, and the defense cannot predict those things. So that was the biggest change, and for Tibbs to allow that. So,
I mean, I think, you know, Delusional, he always talked about a read and react offense, but he was trying to run a read and react offense with guys who did not have that basketball IQ. And to your point, once you put Devo in that starting line, and I think Grimes' IQ is good, I just don't think he was at the point where he could deliver consistently. You put Devo in that starting lineup, you put iHeart in that starting line. Now you have the players that can run a read and react, a motion offense. Everyone talked about, oh, the Knicks are ball stoppers. The Knicks don't move the ball. They need to play like the New York Liberty. Well, then you need to have threats at every position to play like the New York Liberty. And when we went with Devo and iHeart, we finally had that. Anybody else, Jeff, in terms of a defining moment? Was that a defining moment for you? Was it iHeart stepping in for Mitch? Was it how we played after the OG trade?
I think the defining moment is the Anunoby trade, because, and the reason I say that is because he came in and he didn't need an adjustment period. Like, he came in and he fit like a glove, and it was just proof of concept. You know, it was you know, the Coach Thibodeau had been preaching all these things about defense and all these things, and with RJ and IQ, they did a decent job, but they're just not the same players. They didn't have the same fit. They didn't have the same impact, and so it really was proof of concept of, and I think when they went on that run when he got here, it kind of opened everybody's eyes. Not just, I mean, league-wide, but especially on this team. I think Julius Randle was like, oh, snap. How good can this team be? Like, He'd never been on a team this good before. And you saw his defense picking up. You saw him buying in. You saw everybody just kind of playing it. I mean, destroying the Nuggets and the Sixers by, a 30 piece. What in the world? Nobody does that to them, and we were just crushing the league in a way that was just phenomenal. And so I think when you have that proof of concept, I think that was critical, because even after they went down, even after the injuries and on the 27th, that proof of concept was still there, so that when guys like Josh Hart and guys like Precious Achiuwa and whoever else had to step in, they knew they could just step in because the proof of concept was there that, look, hey, we don't have the same personnel right now, but we know that when we're right, we're the best team in basketball. Cleveland played better during that stretch, if you want to say, but 16-1 and versus 15-2. It was, splitting hairs. They were both playing phenomenally. And so the point is that they knew when you work as hard as all of these players did in the off season, right? And that's hallmark of all of these Tibbs guys, for lack of a better phrase, is they all worked really hard, and then you start to see the results, right? You start to say, oh wow, so this is what all this was for. This was what all those habits, this was what all that building was about. And then that just becomes contagious and infectious, and it drives you. And it's certainly Jalen Brunson, that's his mindset. That's all three of those Villanova cats' mindset every time they step on the court. And so, that to me, when you brought in OG, it was just a game changer, because it proved the concept for the team moving forward. And it really showed me that maybe we don't need a second megastar. Not that it wouldn't be nice, but maybe we can just build out the team with some ancillary pieces that are very good, like OG Anunoby level good at the roles that we need them to play. And we can just be this juggernaut team that's ready to go because of the people that we have in the building right now.
Agreed. But that includes Randall.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because I do think some feel like we just need one enroll players. I think we need two enroll players. And I don't think that second player needs to be, like you said, a megastar, because I believe at this point, Jalen Brunson is that, right? And so whoever the number two is doesn't have to be another megastar, but does have to be somebody, in my opinion, that can get a bucket. It can't just be, a role player. And to your point, there's a lot of fans in the Knicks community who believe we're better without Julius Randle. And I'll say there's a difference between playing better without a player for a period of time and being a better team. And I think that we forget that we were 15-2 in January with Randle, Brunson, and OG. I think we gloss over the fact that we were 4-8 in February without Randle and OG. And we were able to get our footing back since then. It's been somewhat of a roller coaster. I think the playoffs is going to tell us a lot about who can play at that level. And I don't even know if it's fair. We'll get into the playoffs later. I don't know if it's even fair to judge guys, because we're asking a lot. We're asking guys to play a little above their head because Randle is not here. And if they're not able to do that for whatever reason, is it fair to come down really hard on them? But that's a conversation for another time. The Knicks won 50 games. They finished second in the Eastern Conference. Is that meaningful for the franchise, or meaningful to you, regardless of how we finish in the playoffs? Jerrell, we'll start with you.
Is it meaningful? I'm sorry, that we got the 50 wins or just the second seed in general? Like both. To me, not really. I think as long as we got into the playoffs, this team is resilient enough to, like, I almost don't care about who we face in the first round. I plan on getting out of the first round, whether we play the Sixers or Miami, or if we would have played Orlando or the Magic. Like, that's how much confidence I have in this team. So to me, we could have landed at 3. We could have landed at 4. I still would have thought we would have got out the first round. I think the only team that I'm really worried about at all is Boston. And even I think we could beat them too. Like, I just think it all depends on how we're playing at the time compared to how the other team is playing. So, yeah, don't get me wrong. I think it's good that we got the second seed, but it wasn't necessary in order for us to do what we plan on doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think with this team, it can go either way. I could see us stepping up and going right to the Eastern Conference finals, and I could see that not happening, as well. So yeah, I could see it anyway. Ajay, do you think that's important for the franchise, or even to you, regardless of how we finish in the playoffs?
Well, so no, not how we finish in the playoffs or how we finish the regular season, being the second seed and 50 win.
Do you feel like it's meaningful regardless of where we finish, how we finish in the playoffs? Or do you feel like, nah, it's not meaningful unless we do something in the playoffs?
Queen, you know me. It is meaningful that we won 50 game and that we ended up in the second seed. And that's really for us Knicks fans. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel like we got something going on. Also, obviously the team, to understand that based on your record, you're the second best team in the East. Okay. Right. It means something to them, to us. I thought it would have changed the narrative a little bit about the Knicks. Obviously, that ain't gonna change it because the hate out there is so strong that I don't know if you saw on our group chat, I sent the odds. They got everybody else winning the championship. We're like, I don't even think we the top 10. We're like the 13th or 14th team, even having the second best record, undermanned and still having a second best record in the East. They still doubting what this team could do. So it means something to us and it means something to the team. I'm sure it means something to the players, regardless of where we end in the playoffs, and regardless of on who we play, in the first round, second round, wherever we end up, it did mean something, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah. Delusional.
All right. I'm gonna throw out some numbers out real quick. Right, past maybe 10 years, 37 and 45, and 2013, 2014, 17 and 65 the next year, 32 and 50 the following year, 31 and 51, 29 and 53, 17 and 65, 21 and 45, and then of course the THIBS years with the 41 and 31, 37, 47, then 50. As a fan base, as someone who truly walks outside with my Knick gear, and in certain instances would have to walk past people laughing or joking, in a sense, that's not happening anymore. Why? Because we're winning, because we're putting up 50 win seasons. So of course it means a lot, even for me, for my pride. Like, everybody knows that I'm a Knicks fan at work, and everyone always, oh, you a Knicks fan, oh, you a Mets fan. So that used to be the scenario behind it. So this means 100%. This means everything. Yes, we making the playoffs. It's just the relevancy of Knicks. Don't forget the quote by KD. Knicks ain't relevant. These are what players were saying. So this does a lot for the fan base. It does a lot for the organization, even position in the playoffs. So now you have home court advantage for the first 2 rounds. We know the stats that usually home court advantage is very effective. I want to say about 60% of the time, home court teams usually win the series. So it's very pivotal, it's very crucial for us. So of course, I think so.
Yeah, and for me personally, for sure, proud, like, like somebody like my child graduating from high school. That's kind of like how I feel about the Knicks winning 50 games, being second in the Eastern Conference, particularly given the adversity of it. But I think it's significant for the franchise. I think it is. When you get the 50 wins, you legit. 47 wins. Yeah, people, they up and coming. But usually the good teams, the championship contending teams, usually those are teams that win 50 games. And regardless of what happens in the playoffs, I feel like the Knicks have really crossed over in terms of our championship window being wide open. And we're young. It's not like we're an aging team and it's a 2-year window. It's a pretty, big window with players that just entering their primes with room to grow. Say what you want to say about Devo. He may not have hit his ceiling yet. I don't think Brunson has reached his ceiling. So it's just a good time to be a Knicks fan. And I really believe with Brunson at the helm, and he can't do it by himself. I trust the front office is going to construct the team that he needs. I actually believe that we can win a championship in the next few years. Like, I really believe that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm super excited. Anything else? Let me just check in with the chat before we segue into Brunson. Knicks 100 a GM, healthy. We was not beating Magic or the Pacers. I totally disagree with you, but much respect. Knicks 100 a GM, always rocking with us. We have a super chat, actually. I almost forgot. Shout out to Gail Barry. Appreciate the super chat. Excellent show, Steph and the crew. Listen, the chat is part of it. So appreciate you as well. JJ, been a great season, but this is a different season right now. Let's see who steps up. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. I think you're right. We are going to need players to step up so that Brunson gets the support he needs in the playoff. Cody, me too, Queen. Championship aspirations are well deserved. No doubt about it. Coach, appreciate you. Next year is ours. Yeah. Yeah.
Why not now?
Oh yeah, we going for now.
This year.
I think 2026, Coach.
Why not them too?
Right?
All right, let's segue. Let's segue into Jalen Brunson. I think let's start with Trav B. His little
He
music.
don't even notice the lights.
Nice.
And if they on, he don't notice they bright. 3-pointer bucket, yeah, we back in the fight. Water to the garden, yeah, he giving them life. The other team slipping and he making them tight. Living in the paint like he's spending the night. Fucking overpay. If he playing like this, I'll give him more money tonight. Haters keep backtracking. Now they all trying to chill. When those assists go public like they on welfare. You could bring your 7-footer and he's still not scared. Even when he's right in front of you, he's still not there. Goddamn, how the hell you guard him? Now you just sad in the paint postpartum. Feeling like New York got a mini Coach Carter. Tell him don't go, he gon' really go harder. Said he not a savior? Well, I beg to differ. Hit him with a cross, make your whole body lift up. He can part seas, make a bucket when it's time. If you the other team, his water make you whine. He's gonna run you over, yeah, that shoulder's so divine. Hit it off to Mitchell and you gon' get baptized. Out of Luca's shadow, now this light gon' beam. The Father and the Son about to resurrect the team. We be way more than somebody's 10th seed. Jalen in the house, now he doing carpentry, point guard. The garden lights so exquisite, he don't even notice that they on, cause he is it. Nice.
Shout out to Trav, man.
Yeah, no, that was fire.
I was fire. Woo!
Yeah.
Spit them bars, young man.
Yeah, doing his thing for sure. Jalen Brunson, was him and was the Eastern Conference Player of the Week to end to end the season. The Knicks were 4-0, 38.5 points per game, 7.5 assists, shot 50% from 3-point range. Just a killer. I mean, we were sitting here, I don't know, maybe 17 games left. Like, I don't know if the Knicks can get to 50. Maybe they can. Then we lost some tough games too. I forgot who it was. It was like, oh God, we were down to 4 games, and the Knicks went out and won all 4 of them. And I know that Chicago game, was like a heart attack game. But we were able to pull it out, and it was Brunson, but it was also the other players coming through. Precious Achua, if you guys remember, in that fourth quarter, iHeart couldn't go, Mitch couldn't go, and he gave us some, really really good minutes.
Positive minutes.
Jalen Brunson, and I thought this was funny. This is you guys may have seen this on Twitter. Tommy Beer, talking about Jalen Brunson carrying the Knicks this season. Oh wait, sorry, that was the end. Let's start it from the beginning. Damn right. So yeah, I mean, he put in yeoman's work for us this season, and then let me just add this last slide before we just get into talking about him. Shout out to Let's Talk Knicks. This is a slide they had on Twitter. Jalen Brunson, 28.7 points per game, which was 4th in the NBA, 3.6 rebounds per game, 6.7 assists per game, which was 13th in the NBA, shot 47.9% from the field, and 40.1% from the 3-point line. Knicks Muse, shout out to them on Twitter. They put out good, I don't know if it's one person or a team, but they put out good content as well. NBA players in the last 50 years to score 375 points in the final 10 games of a season. 1987, Michael Jordan. 2006, Kobe Bryant. And 2024, Jalen Brunson. And the reason why that's significant to me is we needed every one of those points to solidify the 50 wins and the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And I know there is a sentiment amongst Knicks fans that Brunson scores too much and he doesn't pass enough, and we're focusing too much on scoring and the other things. But on this particular team, that's a big part of his role. That is a big part of his role. So overall, your thoughts on Brunson this season, and were you expecting this type of performance for him, or did he surprise you? Delusional, Jeff, Ajay, Jerrell.
All right, so let's hop in my man Brunson. So when we first got Brunson, my expectation was Brunson was floor general, maybe 18-6. Then we went through with that season where I believe he averaged was 23 or 24 and change. I was like, okay, this man got skills. To where I named him a superstar during that season with everything he did and his play in the playoffs. So coming into this year, my expectation is he's going to light the league on fire. To this extent, I did not. To throw something out, Melo's my favorite NBA player. I was fortunate enough to see Melo come and play for the Knicks and have that fabulous year where he led the league in scoring, where he averaged 28. Jalen Brunson averaged 28.7, which was more than Melo. He scored more points this year than Melo did that year. So what I'm trying to say is I believe that Brunson is having the best year, even better than that Melo year. Which it's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to really get that out, but it's 100% how he's scoring, where he's scoring from. 47 from the field. That's efficient scoring from a guard. 40% from the 3-point line, which is guaranteed money. 38, what was the last 10 games 38 points, ladies and gents. We really have to take that into consideration. That's like a 7-footer giving you. That's a Giannis number. That's KD numbers. This is coming from our 6'2" point guard that's running the team in today's NBA. So that should tell you that this man is on another level, and it's just getting started, because playoff basketball time, the game only slows down. He has time to think and focus. He's going to see pretty much every defense thrown at him, but he's so even killed that it doesn't phase him. Like, he has true Mamba mentality. So I believe that he'll be successful in anything he wants to do. And if he wants to win a championship, he's done it before in college. He's done it before in high school. Why not do it with the Knicks?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think, who did I say was next?
Me.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Man, Jalen Brunson's just a straight up killer. I mean, his focus, like, all he cares about is winning. Like, he got 61, they lost the game. He's like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Like, all that matters is winning. And that attitude is gonna carry over to the playoffs as well. You just know that the only thing he cares about is winning. So if that means he's got to get 45, then he's going to get 45. If that means he's got to be the distributor and get other players involved, then that's what he's going to do. Whatever it takes to put his team in the best position to win, that's what you're going to get from Jalen Brunson. And he is just special. I mean, and I go back to the Bernard King 1984 analogy, because King just carried that team on his back offensively. And in my opinion, with all the 40-point games and the 30-point games, you just seeing the same thing. I mean, this guy had a season for the ages, and he's so much fun to watch. And the great thing about it to me, and we talked about it at length last night, so I'll try and be brief about it so the other fellas can get in here. But he's really improved his floor game, in my opinion, especially in the last month of the season. Like, when the double team comes, he's getting it to Josh Hart at that foul line, and then they're running that 4-on-3, and they're getting easy shots. So you have to pick your poison. And if you're gonna play him straight up, you're just dead. There's nobody that can guard him one-on-one in the NBA. There's nobody who can do it. Maybe for a possession or two, but if you're talking about for 40 minutes, he's going. I mean, Alex Caruso. Respect to Alex Caruso, first of all, legit all NBA caliber defender. Like, I would love to see that guy on the Knicks. Just
Me too.
Just a fantastic defender. He cooked him for 40 points twice. He knows his zones. He knows his spots on the floor, and you can't stop him from getting to those spots. And he finishes with alacrity. It's incredible. It's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Well, from a guy who's 6'2", I mean, Iverson is great, and he's in his own class, but Jalen's game is completely different than that. And so that's why I say he's one of one. He's in a class by himself. And to have a completely different starting lineup at the end of the year than he had at the beginning of the year, and still be able to cook and do the things that he's doing is just a credit to him. He's my MVP, and it's not close. And those other guys, SGA, they're all terrific basketball players. But what this man has done for this team, I don't think anybody else in the league has had to go through this year.
Yeah. Jerrell?
Just let you know, Ajay was actually next. But
okay.
If you want. Ajay, you good?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Go ahead.
All right. I'm trying to think of what can I say about Jalen Brunson that I haven't already. Like, I feel like I've been his hype man for the past, before he even actually signed here. So y'all know how I feel about him. But your question that you asked, did he like exceed my expectations? Like, did he surprise me? He didn't surprise me, but it's not like I knew this was going to happen, though. I didn't think he was going to average almost 30. Nobody would have guessed that. So I'm not surprised. Jalen Brunson is whatever Jeff and Delusional just said, he is that. Like, he's been everything. for us. He's been a champion, just like Delusional said, in high school and in college. I'm a Tar Heel fan, so I kind of hate him for that. Because he beat my team once in the championship game. But yeah, Jalen Brunson he's not the New York Knicks. Like, he's the face of it, though. Like, he's not everything. He's not the whole team, but he is the face of it. Like, I think he's the engine of this team. Like, the reason that we play the way that we play is not just because of Tom Thibodeau. It's because of Jalen Brunson being an extension of Tom Thibodeau. Right. Like, they've always been close. Like, it's the type of, I don't know, just like his mental makeup. Like, with his dad, Tom coached his dad. Like, Jalen Brunson is just the epitome of what Tom Thibodeau wants in a basketball player, and it shows. Like, it's like a perfect match.
I agree. Where do you think he ranks, Jerrell, with some of the best players on the other teams? Tatum, SGA, Embiid, Giannis, who else? Booker, Durant. Like, where is he in your mind compared to those guys?
I don't know about collectively. Just on the offensive side of the court, though, he's just almost as unstoppable as they are, though. Like, I don't think there's a single player in this league that can guard Jalen Brunson if he wants to score. Just like Jeff said, he's completely unstoppable one-on-one. Everybody saw him cook Alex Caruso. He cooked him every time we played him, too. It's not just the last time. But as an overall player, I don't know. I think you can consider him a top 10 player in this league. I don't know if I would go 5 because of, injuries to Embiid and Giannis. And so it's hard to crack the top 5. But for me, he would definitely be top 10. And maybe since, it is positionless now, he should or has a strong chance to make first team NBA this season.
Who would you take out? Well, so what I've seen SGA, Luka, Tatum, Giannis, and I'm missing one.
Joker.
The Joker. Yes.
Right. Possibly, maybe Tatum. I think he's had a better statistical season than Jason Tatum has. But Jason Tatum also has his team in the number 1 spot, and they won 64 games. So that means a lot too. But that's like an MVP talk. Now we're talking about all NBA team. With statistics really is key. So if I'm going to knock somebody off, it will be Jason Tatum.
Okay. Kind of penalizing, not just you, I'm just saying in general, because that sentiment I've heard throughout Twitter, not just from the Knicks fan base, that Tatum shouldn't be on there. But it's kind of hard to take the best player on the best team off of the all NBA team and kind of almost penalizing him because he has a better surrounding cast.
Right.
It's going to be
it's tough. But like I said, he has a chance to. Like, if it was me and you're asking me who would I swap off, it would be Jason Tatum. Will that happen though? Probably not. He will probably most likely make second team, just like Julius Randle made.
Right. Ajay?
So in the 2 seasons Jalen Brunson's been here, and it's a very short answer to your question, right? He went from, why are we paying that guy so much money, to, oh, he's really good. Is he a superstar? To, oh yeah, he's a superstar. And now we're talking about first team all NBA. That kind of describe what we've gone through in the past 2 years with Jalen Brunson, how good he is and how great he is and how much he's improved also since he's been here. Or I don't know if it's improvement or if people just didn't know. Like, he's showing it to the world, but we're finding out. Either way, it's just been, a steady march forward with him since he's been here, since he started last season. And you know what, Queen, we had that conversation in the background. Like, do you think he get better? I said, yeah, he can get better. In fact, within the season, he did the same thing last year. From the time he started last year to where he ended, he got better. right? And the same thing this season. He's getting better as the season goes along. You realize he's passing, his assists now are ridiculous. Like he's got the crazy no look pass, the right left tap pass, like all kind of crazy stuff going on.
The pocket pass to iHeart now.
He's going to get better, especially as he gets more comfortable and he trusts his teammates more. He's going to get better, you know, and we're seeing it right now. To end the season, he's gotten better. You know, very impactful. He's a stud, man.
Jalen Brunson would get better once he knocked those turnovers down. Because
what
a lot of his
turnovers is he averaging this season?
I'm not sure. I got to check. But a lot of his turnovers.
I think it's the volume of turnovers. It's the when they happen.
Right. It's the time. It's timing.
Yeah.
Yeah. He got to cut those down.
Because lately he's cut down on turnovers, but they're still happening at the wrong time.
Right.
Even on the season, he's not a big turnover guy, though. I think his assist to turnover ratio was over 2 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is what you want from your point guard.
Right.
Yeah. I think the improvement in one of the improvements anyway in Brunson has been his floor game. And I'm not sure how much of it is that he's always had it, but he just didn't have the teammates or he didn't trust them. And how much of it is just him growing over the years. But some of these passes he's making, and I've seen some of it when he was playing on the FIBA team. And I was like, oh, wow. Oh, okay. He can, he can pass. We're seeing a lot more of it now. And I think he does trust his teammates because I can't tell you how many times when Grimes was here, he would look Grimes off and Grimes was open. And how now he's a willing passer, even passing to McBride. And I say even because McBride is young. So that's not the issue. The issue is McBride is hitting shots. Right. You know what I mean? And so, we talked about this. Like, why isn't Brunson and Julius passing, to these guys? They're ball hogs. And I was like, if you ain't hitting it, you ain't getting it. Like, maybe they one of them. Like, nah, we're not just passing to be passing. But I think he trusts guys, and I think that's opening up his game much more as well. And those guys are coming through for him, which makes it easier for him to do it. I think, the question I asked Jerrell in terms of how he matches up with those other guys, I think he's right there. Like when I think about the KDs and the Tatums and the Embiid, what I think about is, exactly what those guys are going to do. You know exactly where their spots are, and there's nothing you can do about it. They're getting the ball, and for the last possession of the game or critical possession of the game, you call the timeout or whatever you do, the game, and there's nothing you can do about it. And Jalen Brunson is in that category. Now, everybody has a different game. Like some people are like, oh, this one is more complete, and this. Everybody has a different game. At one point, Harden was one of the best players in the game. He wasn't a good defensive player at all. You know what I mean? So I'm not really buying into the complete player narrative. I'm buying into, are you the best player on your team and also one of the best players in the league? And in my opinion, Brunson is right up there with Embiid and the rest of them. Now, in the playoffs, Embiid is still trying to find his way, right? He's yet to get out the second round. Tatum is still trying to find his way. He's gotten to the finals, don't get me wrong, but in terms of down the stretch and those clutch moments coming through, he still has to find his footing. So I'm not even getting into the playoff thing because we consider Embiid a superstar, and he has not carried his team in the playoffs, at least as even Philly fans expected him to. So Brunson is right there. In my opinion, I think it just comes down to, can we continue to put better and better pieces around him? Anything else on Brunson?
Steph, real quick about the floor game.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Brunson's always had a high IQ. This is the first time in his life he's ever been constantly double teamed, though. He's never been this type of scorer before at any level.
Right.
So he wasn't facing double teams like he is now.
Yeah.
Like, I think that unlocks a lot.
Yeah. And I think that also goes to the point about the best players in the league. What's a double team?
Right. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, you know. And now that he's, you know, I'm not going to say now, but his floor game is to the, well, with the double teams, he's either shooting or making the right pass.
Right.
You know, so he's right up there with them. I want to play this. You guys may have seen this already. This was Kendrick Perkins, who since last year has been a champion of Jalen Brunson. And the thing about Perk, when he talked, you just look at his face, like he's like no nonsense, you know. And this is about Brunson in the playoffs and where he matches up in the playoffs with other players. Let me see if I can.
You are the president, ambassador, everything of the New York Knicks. If the Knicks and the Celtics meet in the playoffs, Perk, would Jalen Brunson possibly be the best player in that series?
Hell yeah, and I'm going to take it a step further. Outside of the Denver Nuggets and with Jokic, Jalen Brunson has the capability of being the best player in any series outside of Jokic. Look, when it comes down to it, I don't know what other sides we have to see. We got the appetizer, we done got the entree, and damn it, he's giving us the dessert right now. And he's doing more with less. So let's talk about the MVP conversation. He should be top 3 right now. He has been the best player in the Eastern Conference. Every time he go up against any of the top dogs in the East, he come out victorious. And we think about what he's doing right now. No other all-star on the side of him. No disrespect to OG Anunoby. We know what he brings to the table. No disrespect to Josh Hart. We know what he brings to the table. Isaiah Hartenstein has been playing exceptional basketball. But there's no other young superstar caliber player that is playing right now that doesn't have an all-star caliber player playing alongside of him. SGA, he got Jalen Williams. Luka, he has Kyrie Irving. Jalen Brunson at 6 foot is doing it by himself with a collective of role players. Talk to me now.
Yeah,
you're about to get fired from ESPN talking all that.
Yeah, your thoughts on that, Ajay?
He's 100% right, and not because we're Knicks fans, but I mean, realistically, like in reality, that's what he's saying, that Jalen Brunson does not have another all-star with him. You know, since Julius Randle went down, he's really there's all-star Jalen Brunson, and then you have the other guys. And I don't like to just call them role players, but that's really what they are. And we don't call them role players because we watch them. We watch all 82 games. We know these guys in and out. We think of them better, like more than just role players, as skilled guys like DiVincenzo, you know, but we think of them as a little more than just role players. But in reality, that's what they are. They're not superstars. They're just, you know, professional basketball players who are putting on the team to play a role. And Kendrick Perkins is correct on that assessment. I 100% agree with him.
I mean, on assessment that he could be in any series other than Denver, he could be the best player on the floor.
I was going to follow up with that. I think he's stretching it a little bit. I would like for him to be right, definitely, but I don't know if he is. Because if we play, it depends. I mean, it depends on how because you have role players, you don't have other superstars. You know, their inconsistencies could show at any moment, and because Jalen Brunson's effectiveness also depends on what the other guys are doing on the team. Okay, if you play in a game and Josh Hart is grabbing 15 rebounds and DiVincenzo is lights out, Jalen Brunson could be the best player in any series if that's happening, but we know that's not going to happen every night.
Right.
So, and that's where the other all-star come in. So when you play a team like Boston, Tatum, he doesn't have to do. He doesn't need as much effort to be the best player because he has Brown, he has
KP.
Porzingis,
Mhm.
he has Drew Holiday. You know, he has a lot of support. He had a very nice supporting cast, so he doesn't have to. It's not. It doesn't require a lot of effort for him to be the best player in that. Whereas for Jalen Brunson, it's like climbing a very steep mountain. You
Right,
know,
having a sofa on his back like Tommy Beer.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So, and that would be the difference in the supporting cast. Really makes a big difference.
It does in terms of your workload, in terms of the space you get to work in. You're absolutely right. It does. It does make a difference.
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
I'll say something real quick. Perkins is it's 100% correct. I believe Brunson would be pretty much one of the top players in the league because of what he does for our team. He any given night, whatever we need or lacking, Brunson will provide that and more. And like you stated, Tatum, his role on that team per se is to literally just give you buckets. And he does that role pretty well. He can defend, but primary night is for him to just drop 28. Brunson, he's doing more. He's facilitating. He's taking charges. He's knocking down threes, efficient. Like he's the engine. So, and then of course, clearly, and then when we played Boston, he was the best player that night. Granted, it was just that one game, but that was a full Knick team against a full Boston team, the team that we expect that will be full force from the playoffs. So I think he's 100% correct. JB can be the number one option. Even if we go against Jokic, we saw what we did that night. If our bigs can play well and Tibbs can scheme, we can take away some of his strong points. With Brunson, we've seen what every team has done. They've thrown 6'7" guys on him, 6'5", smaller guards. Brunson was still able to facilitate. The only time Brunson will not show up is when it's himself, when he's not ready to ball out. And we rarely seen that this year.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Ajay. I think all things being considered, let's just say Brunson had the same talent around him as Tatum had around him. Absolutely, he could be the best player on the floor. But I think, to Ajay's point, with the team we have right now, he could still be the best player on the floor, but it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder for him. He's going to have to put out a bit more energy, to do that, depending on who else shows up for him. Anybody else? Jerrell, Ajay want to comment? Not Ajay. Jeff want to comment on the video at all? No.
Nah, Perk was talking. He been talking well about us all season, so I knew he was going to say something like that.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's move into the next segment. We talked about this last night as well. Who's the player of the year for this team not named Jalen Brunson? Now, I have Devo here, iHeart, and Josh Hart, but you're free to choose whoever you want on the team. But who's the player of the year not named Jalen Brunson? Ajay, we'll start with you.
That's a tough one. Why I get to start the real tough one?
That is a very hard question.
It is. I mean, the guys you have pictured here, it could be any one of them, but I'll go with DiVincenzo. Listen, DiVincenzo, he signed as a free agent. Everybody was like, yeah, we know it was good. We didn't know it was going to be that good, because you got to remember when this guy's come through. We lost Julius Randle, we lost OG Anunoby, we lost Mitchell Robinson. We traded away Emmanuel quickly. A lot of things happened, but he has come through in the big time. In when the lights are bright, he comes in. He's had some insanely efficient game. Obviously he broke 3-point record. He's one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA. He's blooming right in front of our eyes and at the right time. So he's hitting his prime while he's with the Knicks. That is amazing. We got him at the right time. That's not to say that the other guys are also deserving, but since I only have to pick one, I'll go with DiVincenzo because he has won games for us. He has won many games for us. The other guys have too. I know Josh Hart has won a couple of games for us, but DiVincenzo more so than all the other guys, I think, I feel has won more games for us. When with all the injuries we've had and with Jalen Brunson having tough time out there, he's come through. Yeah. So he's my pick.
Jeff?
Well, last night I said Josh Hart, but I'm still I think it was Shuttle was talking about OG and Anunoby. We're 20-3 with that guy on the floor. I mean, 20-3. I know he missed a lot of games, and the guys who stepped in his absence deserve a lot of credit, but 20-3, man.
One of my clients today pointed out, though, that Randall was on the floor for 14 of those 20, though.
Yeah, but that means he wasn't for 6 of them. Right? So,
yeah,
I mean,
but 6-0 and 20-3 is two different things. I'm just trying to point out that Randall was a part of it as well.
Yeah, he was, but I also think with that, I mean, Randall was there with RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, and we didn't see a 15-2 run, right? It was when OG was the skeleton key that when we plugged him into the drive that already had Brunson and Randall on it, that just kicked us into overdrive, you know.
I'm gonna play devil advocate again and say RJ coming out of the starting lineup probably had a lot to do with it as well. But go ahead.
It did, but our defensive rating was superior with OG. Sure. I mean, sure. And so you know, I get all that you're saying, and like I said, the 23 games gives me pause anyway, and that's why I said Josh Hart last night. But you know, when you're talking about a team that was 50-32 for the season, that's 18 games over 500. That means in the games that OG played or OG didn't play, we were a 500 team, pretty much. So I think that speaks volumes about the impact that he's had, regardless of who's on the floor with him.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
I'll throw out a player. So I believe, this conversation yesterday. I'm gonna stick with my guy, which is Josh Hart. Early in the year, we had the similar conversation, and I said Devo due to the spacing and everything that he brought to the offense. But one key game is where Josh Hart got ejected early for the kick, right? And you saw that it kind of snatched the heart out of the team. You know, we didn't play as of hard to kind of finish that game out and stuff. But then when he comes back, this dude brings energy that's not necessarily on the stat sheet. I don't even think plus and minus can really determine how important this guy is for the team, with, you know, certain games of him dropping 30 with a triple double, or, you know, him grabbing 10 rebounds, getting steals, crucial time period, crucial tips, crucial steals, you know, being in the right position to help out defensively, you know, taking on assignment of defending bigger guards, you know, when OG was out. Then of course now he's handling the smaller guards to help out in the set. So it's literally hard, that energy that he brings on a day-to-day basis, the aggressiveness, like this brought back the old 90s vibes and feel that he brought to us. So we say that THIBS brought this kind of style. It really was when we got Hart, who was able to bring that to the floor. Yeah, your coach can preach it, but he was the player that brought that aggressiveness, that heart, no pun intended, to the floor.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Jerrell?
My answer is probably Dante. I mean, you can, just like everybody said, you can go with a few players on this team, but I'm gonna go with Dante simply because he didn't just beat the Knicks record. Like, there are only 6 players in NBA history that have shot more threes than Dante DiVincenzo made this year.
Wow.
And Luka only beat him by 1, and that was this year. So it was almost only 5 players. Dante DiVincenzo did that while only starting a little over 60 games this year.
Yeah.
That is unheard of. Like, that type of volume and the percentages that he's hitting that 3-pointer, that's not normal for him. It's not normal for most players in NBA history. So I'm gonna give him that because of that. Like, he had an awesome year this year.
Yeah, Ajay, did you speak?
Yes, I picked Dante DiVincenzo.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he went first.
yeah. We let's try to get those likes up. We have 74 in the chat, and I think 22 likes. I just refreshed it. So I know something was going on with YouTube earlier. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
I saw that. Yeah, something was with the count.
Yeah, but got 72 listening, 22 likes. So if you're in the building, you liking the content, hit that like button, and hopefully you're already subscribed to the channel. I can't
Queen.
disagree.
Hold on, sorry. Before we switch, can I throw in one quick player that I know you probably won't agree with, but played crucial for us, and he's like a close. It's Precious. Remember when OG went down, we were kind of like, all right, what are we going to do at this 4 position? What's going to happen? This man came in and was putting up 15 and 10. 2 blocks per game. Like, he really had us for a nice stretch, a key crucial stretch, because we could have easily fell way below on the record wise, and Precious really came through and stepped up for big. So he's there. He's there.
Yeah. Would you say he would be player of the year, or in our next segment when we talk about unsung heroes and surprises, do you think he would be better there?
Okay, so I jumped the gun, Queen. I jumped the gun.
No, it's okay.
He definitely be
the
unsung hero. So yeah.
I mean,
so he definitely doesn't fit. Well,
yeah, but you didn't know that segment was coming up.
Yeah, no, my
fault. I'm gonna go with iHeart though. And only because I'm trying to not say the same players. I'm not arguing with Josh Hart. Josh Hart was lights out for us. I'm not sure when it started. Was it after the All-Star break? Was it after Randall's injury? I'm not sure when it started, because he did struggle, might be a strong word, but he didn't seem to be the Josh Hart we all knew and loved early in the season. And at some point, it just clicked for him, and he was just lights out. DiVincenzo is another one. And you can argue, I don't even think it's an argument. We were able to salvage our season because guys stepped up. We were able to salvage our season because iHeart stepped up for Mitch. McBride, let's not forget about him. Precious Achua, Josh Hart coming into his own, and Devo basically playing his best basketball of his career, and this is 6 years in, I believe it is. That's how we've been able to stay afloat. But I'm going to go at iHeart. I love the signing last year. Actually, when Mitch went down, like we talked about yesterday, a lot of fans thought that our season was going to take a huge hit, particularly given how Mitchell Robinson started the season. Like, he was just elite, he was just playing on another level and doing it consistently. And those first few games, let me tell you, iHeart, you could tell the difference. Like, he wasn't a rim protector. He wasn't doing the things Mitch did. And he got better, and he got better as time went on. Then once we got OG, he really took off. He was one of the first players that I saw his per 36, and then when he actually got the time, was actually doing what his per 36 suggested he can do. And even more than his defense and the rebounding and the offensive rebound. Listen, Mitch was really good in terms of second chance point. iHeart was as well. And we were able to maintain as far as second chance points and offensive rebounding when Mitch when Mitch went down. Precious stepped up in that area as well. But it's what he did to our offense. Him and Devo. Just beautiful. Everybody's an offensive threat. Everybody knows how to pass and shoot, and the IQ was good. It was a really good brand of basketball to watch. And listen, Devo can cut, OG can cut, but you got to have players who can make those passes to take advantage of that. And Isaiah Hartenstein was is able to do that. Hitting Brunson back, the play they run with the screen and Brunson going back door and Devo hitting it. I mean, iHeart hitting it. It just really opens up our offense and makes us less predictable. So I'm gonna go with iHeart, but yeah, Josh Hart, those other guys are just as good. Yeah. Anything else? All right, so let's move on to the unsung heroes of the season or the surprising players of the season. We'll start with you, Jerrell.
Okay. Got you. For me, it's Deuce. Got to be Deuce for me. Like, Deuce is the reason Grimes is at 8 Mile somewhere chilling. Like, he's in Detroit because of Deuce McBride. And a lot of people, I don't know, don't get me wrong, it's like they really did want Bogey and Burks to come in and be the veteran presence that they are off the bench. But obviously Burks was struggling. Mm-hmm. Deuce came in and we forgot all about Alec Burks. Like, he started a couple games. Deuce came in and was playing 48 minutes for a couple games. Like, he every time they call his number, he stepped up. And all he's been doing since he's been here has been waiting for his time to show it. Like, he had all the stints in the G League. Grimes didn't really have to go through that. Deuce did all of that, and he actually survived out of all the kids that everybody wanted to play. The only one that survived was Deuce McBride. Yeah. That says a lot. Because Tom Thibodeau don't like the kids. Obviously, he loved Deuce though, and you could tell that he still trusts him. Mm-hmm. So the answer for me is Deuce. I like, as soon as you asked the question, that's who popped up in my head. So to me, it's Deuce.
Okay, all right. Delusional. Are you going to change, or are you going to still stick with Precious?
Well, because like you stated, Precious was for like a quarter of the season in a sense. We did the trade, and then of course he came in, and then even at the end of the year, Tidge kind of had him on the bench. So when you think of it as a surprise player of the year, it has to be Deuce. Deuce literally went from average, getting like 8 or 9 minutes from situational player, to pretty much playing a full game, and averaging 40% from 3-pointer. Even to your state, you was like, you couldn't have seen this. You couldn't have seen this. Even though when he has played in the G League, and granted it is the G League, this dude would pull up, great numbers. So you saw that he had the potential. It just needed to transition.
And in college as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. And Tibbs always spoke highly of him and what he's done in practice, and he always stated whatever happens in practice will always translate into the game. And that's what Deuce did. We know his defense was there. His handling definitely needs to get a little better in the playmaking, but there's been certain games of where we weren't getting anything from anybody else, and he came through. So Deuce is definitely a surprise player.
Yeah. Ajay, and then Jeff. A surprise or unsung hero, whichever way you want to frame it,
or both. How about Precious Achiuwa was the unsung hero, and Deuce McBride was the surprise player. Because Precious, like Delusional mentioned, he came through at a time when we were desperate and we really needed. In fact, when they pull off that trade, most people, they call it the OG Anunoby trade. Mm-hmm. But for a stretch there, it was the Precious Achiuwa trade. because he was in here, he was in here giving us what we couldn't get from any, because Julius Randle went out. And he stepped in Julius Randle's shoes. Like, he's no all-star or anything like that, but he was balling. He was playing. He was rebounding. He was blocking shots. He was giving us double digits of points. Like, I think there's a game he scored more than 20 points, and not but a couple of games that he scored more than 20 points. So he's definitely a unsung hero. He kept us on pace to that 50-win game. A lot of it is credit to him, obviously the rest of the team, but he stepped in and filled his role. And obviously Deuce McBride, what a great surprise. And Deuce, we've talked about him on so many times, and a lot of us couldn't understand why he was hitting those shots in the G League and not in the NBA. Sometimes he was wide open in the NBA. It's the same court, the same hoop, the same everything. But you know what? It's all translating now. And then it's and also credit to the front office for knowing what we didn't know, because if at the beginning of last season we had a pool, like, who do you think was going to be gone, out of all them kids, I don't think Deuce McBride was still going to be here. Like, he probably was going to be, we all thought they were going to use him as trade chips or I don't know, something, in a trade as a fill in, like they need one more player to, whatever. So we really didn't know. You'd have never thought that IQ, RJ Barrett, and Quentin Grimes would be gone. And here we are. They all gone, and we're playing well.
Yeah. Jeff?
Well, I don't know if I can call him a surprise, because Wiz has been saying his grandson could play ball and telling us for about 2 years now that he was the second coming of somebody. I'm not sure who, but no, Deuce has done a fantastic job. And what I really like was in the games that Deuce started and played alongside Jalen Brunson, I really felt like that was a nice look. It gave us a lot of versatility. It was, it was out of necessity, but it showed, and it's something I hope we see a little bit in the playoffs, even, and we've needed him, because Alec Burks has been such a disappointment, and I still don't know that I trust him to back up Brunson in the playoffs, without. Running the show. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm at that point yet, but I do think that he's been fantastic for us. The shot making has really been stellar. His floor game has also improved a lot. I mean, he's not someone who's gonna just like blow by his guy and just get to the rack. That's just not in his skill set. But he's shown, he's got a couple moves in his arsenal and a couple of spots on the floor that he can go to and kind of get a shot. And we saw when he started, he kind of hit those a couple times, and it was like, oh, I didn't know he had that in his bag. But we did, because we saw it as everybody already said, we saw it at West Virginia. We saw him do it in the G League, and it was just a question of could it translate. And credit to him, because here's a guy who was the last man in the pecking order, not named Arcidiacono, right? And so he was the last guy, and he just worked hard and worked hard and worked hard, and everybody kept getting hurt and getting traded, and he just stayed ready. And whether he got 5 minutes one night and then 48 minutes the next, he was always ready to go. And whatever you asked him to do, he always does it without complaint, to the best of his ability. And you gotta respect that a lot, because there's a lot of guys who'd be in his situation who would have flat given up,
Right.
It'd been easy for him to say, I'm not getting any playing time under this coach. I'm just going to bide my time. And then I'm going to get out of Dodge and go somewhere, hopefully, where I can, get some minutes. But he's like, no, this is my chance. I know I belong here. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna show. I'm gonna prove. I'm gonna keep working hard on my game. And you know what? When he got the opportunity, he seized it. He grabbed it. In a way that at least this year Quentin Grimes never really did.
For sure.
So kudos to him.
Yeah, let me add. I definitely agree with that. Let me add Uncle Freezy to the show. What's up, Freezy?
Hey, what's up, bro?
Salute.
Uncle
What's
Freezy?
good, party people?
Hey.
We good. We good. I mean, we've gone through a lot. This segment though, we're talking about the surprise player of the year. I don't know if you want to chime in on this, and then we'll give you an opportunity to talk about some of the other stuff.
Yeah, just real quick. The surprise play of the year for me, I think is easy. I think we all agree. Even AJ gonna agree with me, even though I think it's in his blood to disagree with me, just because. Say, hey, salute y'all, salute to everybody on the panel, man. Good evening to everybody, man. My surprise play of the year is OG Anunoby.
Wow.
And the reason why it is because we see what he did and his impact here, how he came here and fit right in. But if OG Anunoby had been this impactful in Toronto, then they may have gotten those results in Toronto. Mm-hmm. So when you see the OG Anunoby in Toronto, and he was a good player in Toronto, right? No doubt he was a good player in Toronto. He was second team all defense, and I think something like that. Yo, shout out to my man, Bruce Ivory. That's my brother. For those that don't know, Bruce, that's my brother, man. That's my brother in real life. He older than me, so he got all the money and good looks and all that stuff, and left me with nothing. but yeah. So yeah, my surprise player, no doubt, is OG Anunoby, because think about it. If before the trade, I told you, once we get OG Anunoby, January was going to look like this, y'all would have thought I was lying. Especially how December went, where we were up and down, lose to some bad teams, knock off some great teams. We didn't know, kind of trying to find an identity, so to speak. And then OG Anunoby got here, and bim, off rip, the Knicks legit only. Think about this, Jeff. Think about this. Of all the games that the Knicks lost in January, right? The total points the Knicks lost by in January is 8. The Knicks legit lost by a total of 8 points in 1 month. That's crazy. And you can attribute that directly to OG Anunoby, right? Precious contributed some, Deuce contributed some, but I think we can all say the surprise player. I mean, well, let me say that. I don't want you all to agree just to agree, but I would say my surprise player is OG Anunoby. I didn't believe that he was going to be this good and this impactful once the trade was completed.
Yeah.
8 points for an entire month.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say he was a surprise. I mean, we expected him to be good. I don't know if we expected him to be, and it wasn't even that he was that good. It's just what he brought to the team transformed what we did. He was good too, don't get me wrong, but
his impact
was just more than his stats. Put it that way. His impact on the team was more than his stats. Yeah.
It's kind of like when you walk in the house and you smell a pie cooking in the oven, and then you actually finally get to taste that pie, and you're like, "Whoa! I didn't know it was going to be this good. It's even better than it smells," you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not like he never played with a short, stocky scoring guard, or it's not like he never played with a all-star caliber power forward, right? It's not like that never occurred, right? He just left that, came here, and I know those guys basically gone or whatever, but he had experience playing with Fred VanVleet, and he had experience playing with Pascal Siakam, right? But he came here, and one could reasonably argue that what he provided to this team was more than we anticipated. It was a surprise to us.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else before we move on to the next segment? All right. Shout out to the Big Sneeze. He did that video on Twitter, saying this is Tibbs when he get that contract. When he gets that contract extension.
Right.
Yeah, let's take some time to talk about Thibodeau. He's been here 4 years. I don't think he's always endeared himself to the fan base. There's still some calling for his job and would like to see him replaced, or don't see him as somebody who could take the Knicks all the way. We shall see. But yeah, thoughts on Tom Thibodeau this season, and if you want to expand that to just overall, since he's been there, you can do that too. Freezy, we're gonna start with you.
Yeah, pay that man. To me, it's levels to it about how I feel about a Tom Thibodeau contract extension. Right now, I feel like it's got to be 2+1 with a team option, right? And mind you, while it sounds like 2 years plus 1 is not a lot, remember he's got the coach next year too under his original contract, and so 2 more years will be a total of 3 guaranteed years, and then a team option after that. So we're looking at 3 years plus an opt out for both sides. But delusional. Here's my but, right? Here's the but, right? If that man wins a championship here, I'm giving that man a lifetime contract, no paperwork. Right? If we win a championship this year, bro, I'm spitting in the palm of my hand and shaking hands with him, bro. Tibbs ain't good. If Tibbs win a championship this year with this team, he not just good. He just not good for this year, bro. He good for life, in my eyes, right? Because we brought in smarter, younger, more genius level coaches, and legit, he has outperformed all of them. So if you move Tibbs and go get another guy, and then you reset the clock, and now we're 45 wins looking for a guy to fit another. Nah. If Tom Thibodeau and Leon Rose, if you watching, bro, if you win a championship this year, and this is just my opinion, I'm not trying to put it on everybody else, but if the Knicks win a championship this year, bro, they good for life. They money not even good in the city no more. They may as well take their money and throw it away, because everywhere they go, people gonna be paying for it, paying for their stuff, bro. They good forever. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. Now, on the flip side of that, if we lose in the first round, I'll be heartbroken, but I still give Tibbs that contract extension.
Yeah. Ajay?
No, yeah, he should definitely get an extension. He deserves it. The results speak for themselves. Tibbs been here for 4 years. We've been to the playoffs 3 times out of 4 years. Winning record. Obviously we're playing better, and we're improving every time, right? We're in the second seed, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Does it mean something? Yeah, it does mean something. When you go to the front office and to the owner, you tell them, listen, we're the second best team in the East. That says something. That reinforces the notion that this guy and his staff, they're doing their job. Obviously the team is playing well out there, but it starts with those guys. And if we want to get down to the nitty-gritty, Tibbs, he's changed the way he coached over the years. We talked about that earlier. He's more flexible. He's doing things this year that he hasn't done in all the previous year that I've seen him coach. You know, he's been the things about Thibs, it keep telling you, he's stubborn, he's rigid, he's like, you know, clockwork. You know, his substitution pattern, like this guy plays 12 minutes and 18 seconds, and he does that every game. He pull him out. He doesn't do that anymore. He follow, you know, and he likes to tell you the game tells you what to do. He's actually taking his own advice. The game's telling him what to do, and then he's reacting to what he's seeing in the game. So he's, in my eyes, he's improved as a coach, especially on the defensive end of the floor. Obviously, he's got better players or more of his style of players now. So he's more capable of doing what he really couldn't do with the other guys. But overall, yeah, he deserves an extension, in my opinion.
Jerrell, then Delusional, then Jeff.
I already said earlier how Jalen Brunson is an extension of Tom Thibodeau, and you know you can obviously tell that the way that Tibbs coached this year and the way that he had our guys playing, I see why he didn't win Coach of the Year because the record was probably too low. But the record that we had, like with the roster that we had and how many injuries that we had, he should have got at least some votes for me, if not win it. But I knew that he wasn't going to win just because of what OKC and Boston did this year, being the #1 seeds on both sides. But for us to get the #2 and 50 wins after Julius Randle went down, yeah, Tibbs is definitely going to get an extension. I think that shouldn't even be a question. And I don't know, he coached his ass off this year.
Yeah, I will say the OKC coach got the National Basketball Coaches Association Coach of the Year award, but the NBA still has to vote on their Coach of the Year award. I think Tom will get some votes, but I think OKC will probably OKC coach will probably win it. I think they were in the play-in last year, and now they finished #1 in the Western Conference. Right. I think Tom should be #2 though. You know, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
But I forgot who I said was next.
Me. Yeah. So give a little history regarding me and Tibbs. I definitely wanted Tibbs to kind of be our coach once, you know, we brought in a new regime. Because during that time, I think his record was like 527 and then 388, you know, so that's as efficient coaching. So then, of course, he comes here. You know, we have a great winning season. Julius turning around. But then, of course, there was a lot of up and downs with the style, you know, and then him not adjusting doing certain things. But then I guess we kind of see that he felt that he didn't have the players to adjust to certain things or to see that the players were able to adjust itself. So now that the organization got Tibbs, you know, the players that he wants and the team and the record this year kind of showcased that. So as long as we have, because I believe our front office is pretty much have the same contract as Tibbs as where they expire. So as long as we have the same front office, I believe that's how long we'll have Tibbs. So, and this could potentially go on for the next 5 or 6 years. So 100% Tibbs to get that extension. He'll probably start to make that Steve Kerr money because I believe Steve Kerr is getting around $17 million per year. Even though Steve Kerr won some championships, if we could potentially get a chip during that time period, you could definitely see Tibbs kind of getting that money as well.
Yeah. Jeff?
Well, you know, as I was getting to listen to everybody here, I started thinking, you know, in my lifetime, the Knicks have had a lot of coaches and a lot of big names. But if you're talking about all-time great Knick head coaches, the list starts with Red Holzman, may he rest in peace. Then you have to have Pat Riley, may he rest in pieces. Then you have, you know, probably Jeff Van Gundy up there somewhere, depending on how you feel about Jeff. I would have him in the top 5. Mike Woodson probably needs to be up there somewhere. If you want to throw Hubie Brown in the conversation, I'm okay with that. but I would have Thibodeau ahead of both of those last two guys that I mentioned, and maybe ahead of Jeff also. You know, playoff performance still matters, so we still have to, you know, we have to see how it goes. But from that perspective, but to me, the impressive thing about Thibodeau is the baseline of competence, and so he brought that to an organization that didn't know how to spell competence when he got here, right? And he comes in and he establishes the culture and the habits that he wants those people his players to play with, and everybody's bought in, everybody's locked in. Every night, we don't know if we're going to win or not, but we know we're going to get effort, right? There's very few times this season where you could be like, man, the Knicks just phoned it in, right? You know, and Bernie Bickerstaff, or JB Bickerstaff rather, gets Coach of the Year votes, and his team absolutely, you know, pulled the plug in the fourth quarter and tucked their tail between their legs and ran because they didn't want to see the smoke from Philadelphia or Miami if they got that 2 seed. Well, our boys said, no, we're gonna win this game, and we're gonna do everything in our power to win the game, and that comes from the head coach, that kind of attitude, and our point guard has it down to the last player on the team. They all have that mentality, that attitude, and Thibodeau has a lot to do with that. So, yeah, and Rick Pitino, another good choice. But again, from what Pitino, I remember Pitino's regime, and I would definitely put Thibodeau above Pitino from what he did for the Knicks. You know, Pitino had one good season, basically. So, but another fantastic coach. I'm not going to argue with that, but that's what I'm saying. Thibodeau is climbing the ranks rather quickly. And you see that, you know, just in winning percentage and in total number of wins, and you know, this was a franchise before he got to head coaching here. My man Delusional gave us the numbers, the winning numbers, the records, and they were awful before he got there. And you know, he came in right away and said, "This is what we're rolling with." And the team that he had that first year wasn't markedly different from the one that was there the year before, right? That's why it was such a surprise. And now that he's got his ball players, and I say that, but I don't really like to say that too much, because his ball players are ball players every coach wants. Guys that play hard. They don't want to miss games. They'll do whatever you ask them to do. They defend. They'll do all the little. I mean, what coach doesn't want those types of players? Like, you're not going to find one, right? All head coaches want those types of players. But he you know, he has a mentality that he doesn't want to lose a single minute or a single quarter of a single game, and this team just exudes and exemplifies that, and it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. You know, Thibodeau was my choice coming in, and I think part of it was, as you said, Jeff, the baseline of competency. Just like I'm not sure what the ceiling was going to be, you know, when it came time to pick a coach, but we needed a coach with a really high floor. Like, we were just a hot mess before Thibodeau came. And you know, I'm not going to get on Fizdale, you know, too much. I think that I'm not going to say did him dirty, but, you know, him in the front office, how they were going to approach that season. And for whatever reason, the owner, Dolan, at some point, you know, I don't know, was embarrassed or whatever it is. And then the next thing you know, Fizdale is out there on his own, and the front office is looking at him like, yo, what you doing? You know, we haven't discussed that. But all of that being said, I didn't think they were playing to win. Like, we didn't have a good team. So you can go out and play to win, and you're still not going to win. We're not good. But, you know, I put so-and-so in so he can, you know, get used to being in the game at the end, so he can get used to these moments. This is not a scrimmage. This is an NBA season. Put your best players in. They're going to lose anyway. We're not good. So all that experimentation and what have you, I didn't particularly like that. But the front office was past that. And to me, I felt like now they playing with the basketball gods. Like they're not even trying to win games. They're going to treat the season like a scrimmage. You know, I was like, this is just foolery right here. Like this is just the worst of the worst for those who are. I don't know if I would call myself a basketball purist, but those of us who play to win, like that was just like out of pocket. So, you know, when the candidates came up, I said, no, we need Thibodeau. Pat Riley, Van Gundy, Clip, like that school of people, coach, that's what we need to come in, because right now we doing stuff that shouldn't be done. You know what I mean? So I was all for, you know, for Tom Thibodeau. And he delivered. He delivered. Now, can he deliver us a championship? We shall see. You know, we shall see. I think getting to the playoffs is one thing, but there's levels to this. You know, you're going to play tougher teams. The more you move into the second and third rounds, we're going to get a chance not only to see Thibodeau, we're going to get a chance to see Brunson as well play on you know, on these higher levels and the rest of the team as well. So I'm all in on Thibodeau. I want to bring this up. Wiz, BKLA, appreciate you. I will wait for Tibbs to perform this playoff before any contract extension. And if it doesn't, then he has to do it next year's playoffs. I totally disagree. I think Tibbs and the front office has done enough to get a contract extension regardless of what happens in the playoffs. You know, and there's precedent to that. Think about the year before Missoula's first year with Boston. They did not meet expectations. The next year, 60-something games. Moses Malone with Denver. I can't tell you how many years they lost in the first. Mike Malone, sorry.
Yeah.
Moses, right. You know, they stuck with him and eventually they won a championship. You believe you have your coach or you don't believe it. Let's not with this. You got 37 wins. You got to go. This. You believe you have your coach or you don't. You know, now obviously you have your championship roster, and you can't get past the second round, aka Doc Rivers. Then yeah, you do need to go. Right. You do need to go, but you can't go. We just here. We just getting here. The window is just flew open. And if we don't get to the playoffs, we're going to fire him and we're going to basically reset. No, I'm in total disagreement with that. Sign Thibodeau, sign his front office. Let's continue to upgrade these pieces around Brunson, and let's bring a championship to New York in the next year or two. That's where I'm at. Anybody else before we move on to the playoffs and whether we want to play Miami or Philadelphia?
Yeah, you mind if I just interject something about the Thibodeau extension?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Initially, I was thinking, why not wait until after July 1st to give Tibbs his extension, right? To see if there are other candidates out there, to see what potential free agents and players, star players on other team thinks about the setup. Mm-hmm. But in this last week and a half, where I saw Tibbs out here make a meal out of scraps, nah, man, you got to give. And then plus the names that the only names I could see us even moving for or even having a conversation for are names like Spoelstra and Kerr. But what happened during this regular season is those coaches were locked up to extensions. So now that they're off the table, we should even have a conversation about another coach coming in here, in my opinion. Those guys are locked up. Kerr's locked up for 2 years. His contract runs out when Curry's contract runs out. Spoelstra's locked up to a record deal. So anybody else, I don't even want to have a conversation about another coach. Tibbs is a guy. That's my opinion on it.
I mean, that's a good question. Is there anybody out there that you guys would want over Tibbs with Spoelstra and Kerr being off the table right now that you would consider? And that's for the chat as well. Wiz, who wants to wait until to see how Tibbs does in the playoffs.
Personally, for me, no. Like Tibbs will have to be gone first, and then my wheels will have to be starting turning. Who will be his replacement? But yeah, I don't know off the top of my head who I would want more than Tibbs, to be honest, right now. Maybe, I mean, Malone obviously is a good coach. I think Ty Lue is a very good coach, especially for the type of team that we have. Yeah, there are other good coaches, but
Budenholzer wasn't even considered, and he's a championship coach.
Right, that is
he
true.
Wasn't even considered him, or at least we don't think he was considered in Brooklyn. So
true. Yeah, I don't know anybody that I would like. Yeah, I want him instead of Tibbs right now.
Right.
How about Jalen's college coach?
Nah.
See, I'm not saying that, but I'm not saying that that's not a good replacement. I'm saying I don't know that I would just be like, yeah, get rid of Tibbs for Jay Wright.
Jay Wright would still be a rookie. Jay Wright will be a rookie NBA coach, though. Is that what you want on a playoff ready team?
It's not what I want. I was just throwing a name out there.
No. Okay.
People have thrown his name out, definitely.
Yeah. I hear you, Wiz. I can name 20 coaches who cannot get past the set. We just got here, though. We just finally got a team that, and this was before Randall got hurt, is a championship. You know, you can argue is a championship contending team. You take Randall off the team, and listen, we've been able to rally and win 50 wins. You gotta have rosters matter. That's the only thing I want to say. Rosters matter when it comes to winning a championship. Health matters when it comes to winning a championship. So people who are talking about, oh, we haven't gotten past the second round. Have we had a roster? You can argue we've been overachieving up to this point.
Right.
You know,
or you can argue that we're naturally progressing at this point. Like,
correct.
We made the first round. You can't count year 2 because we had too many injuries at key positions. And then the year after that, you make the second round of the playoffs. Then this year you come back, you have a lot of key injuries or whatever, but you win 50 games and are the 2 seed. So you could say the progression with Tibbs is a natural progression.
Right. And I don't think we lost to Miami last year because of Tibbs. We didn't have the horses last year. Couldn't nobody make a shot but Jalen.
If we could have got like 3 more shots in the series, forget game 6.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We didn't lose because of Tibbs. We didn't lose because of Tibbs last year.
AJ, this dude Jerrell just like being around rocking somebody's shoe, bro. I think he take pride in that.
I actually
He likes doing it.
To be honest, I actually do.
He does.
Yeah, Mets Knicks fans, let's go, makes a good point. How much does the players, and particularly JB, have a say in Tom Thibodeau's future?
JB running this joint.
I'm about to say.
What JB want, JB get.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
all right.
That's clear. He got Ryan Arcidiacono here a couple of times. Gone, bring him back. Bring him back.
He'll be back for
Probably back on the team next year.
Yeah. And they probably talked to him before we listen. We got to cut him. There's certain things we need to do, but don't worry. We'll be back as soon as we can get him back.
We're gonna let him go with a nice severance package. He got mad stuff that we did not know that he got.
If we win, bro, he getting a ring. You know that.
Yep. He getting a ring too.
So are Barrett and Quickly.
Yeah.
And Obi, it's probably so.
And Obi was
Obi better not get no ring.
Obi was the first trade of the new league year. Obi was on the roster July 1st, y'all.
All right.
It was official July 7th.
He shouldn't get a ring on the telephone, Freezy. What are you talking about?
He said Obi shouldn't get a ring around the tub. Obi can't even get a ring around the tub.
Absolutely not. No.
Don't you have to be on the opening season roster to get a ring? No?
I don't know.
Oh, I
think it's up to the team.
Who's work, to be honest.
You're right. It's
probably up to the team. I don't think that you don't have to give a ring if you don't want to. I don't think.
Yeah.
Not for nobody like that.
That'd be funny if Jacob had one and Obi didn't, though.
That's hilarious.
That would be hilarious.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, let's move on. Let's move to the playoffs now. Update: some of these games are already finished on the West Coast. The Lakers beat New Orleans. If I understand that correctly, that means they're the 7th seed.
Yep.
Sacramento beat the Warriors. Is that game finished or still going on?
It's only at halftime.
It's only at halftime.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
going on now.
Okay.
They're-
So
They'll play the winner of that game will play the Pelicans.
the winner of that game will play the Pelicans for the right to the 8th seed. Now on the East side, and this game is tomorrow, Miami is going to play Philadelphia. Whoever wins that game will be the 7th seed, and they will play the New York Knicks. So tomorrow, 10 o'clock or so, we will know who the Knicks will play. So let's talk about our preferences, who we want to play and why. And I get it. Some of you don't, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to press on you to pick one. You know, and if you don't want to say why you picked them, talk about what the Knicks would need to do to beat that team. All right. So,
can I go first, Queen? Because I got to step aside after this.
Yes, well, you can go first for sure.
All right, so just kind of looking at the regular season, Knicks and Sixers, we've kind of had a great series with them this year. So Knicks won 3 games out of 4, so it was a 3-1 series. Then, of course, the Heat series, due to the play-in, which I learned kind of this year, we only played the Heat 3 times, and we won that series, so it's a 2-1 series. The difference between the two is Miami's defense. We know that that's one thing that they're going to bring, and they're going to try to find each and every way to prevent Brunson from doing what he do. But dealing with the Sixers now, the Sixers and their defense is not a concern for the Knicks, I believe. It's really just for them to contain the Sixers offense. So I would prefer, as crazy as it sounds, for us to play the Sixers with the main focus being Embiid. I believe that the Knicks can throw multiple bodies at Embiid, whether it's Mitch, whether it's Sims, whether it's Hartenstein, even OG, which we saw a couple of plays. So we can throw bodies with that. Now, the spacing that the Sixers can bring out there with a veteran point guard and fellow Villanova player as well, Kyle Lowry, with Buddy Hills, with Maxey, you know, so that's real good shooting, and Tobias Harris. So that's real good shooting that they put around Embiid. But I believe that the Knicks can, you know, scheme correctly and put up the necessarily offense to win. So between the two, I would rather have the 76ers, and I think the Knicks can prevail.
Yeah, I did want to your point, though. Philadelphia defense, offense and defense at both Miami and Philadelphia, if you're just looking at offensive, defensive, and net rating over the last 10 games, have been really good. Miami 7th in offense, 1st in defense. Philadelphia 6th in offense, 2nd in defense, 3rd in net rating going into the playoffs, and they've won 8 straight. Right. On the season, though, the Knicks are the only team, you know, out of these 3, the only team who are top 10 in both offense and defense. But that's the entire season. So that's games with and without Randall, games with and without OG, with and without IQ and RJ Barrett. But I did want to put this up for context. Ajay, who would you like to play and why? I appreciate you, Delusional. I know you have to leave soon, but appreciate you. Hopefully you can join us Thursday when we know who we're gonna play and gonna do that play, the preview. But if you can't, totally understand.
I'm actually clear, so we should be good.
Wow. Okay.
Nice.
Awesome.
So thank you guys.
Salute, bud.
It's a toss-up for me, Queen, but slight preference to playing Miami than Philadelphia.
Okay.
I think, you know, so Miami kind of plays the same way we play, that same grinded out, tough defense, and that kind of, they play the same game we play. But I think we have more talent. We have guys who could perform better than their guys this season. Philadelphia, there's a couple of problems. We have absolutely nobody that could stop Joel Embiid if he's playing. But I don't feel like there's anybody in Miami that we can't stop or we can't make him uncomfortable. Joel Embiid, if he's playing at his, there's nothing we can do about him. So we're just gonna have to suck it up, take it in, and do, hope for the best with him. But I feel like we have a better chance of beating Miami if we play them. And of course, for sentimental reason, because they sent us packing last year, I want to return the favor.
All right.
Okay.
Freezy.
Since you pressing me, I'll just say this first. Either team is getting swept by the Knicks, right?
Wow.
Either team, and
Love it.
Either team, right? And the reason why I say that is because when you look at the matchups, right? Like they had Joel Embiid when we beat them by, what did we beat them by? 77, 50. what game was that when Joel Embiid got that whack 30 and 10 to keep his streak alive? Y'all remember that? He had the quietest 30 and 10 you ever saw in your life, and we still blew them out by like 35. So my thing is this: if you look at the confidence that these two teams got in the last 10 games, they only got confidence to win however many in a row and all that stuff. When you look at their schedule in the last 10 games, you're looking at Brooklyn, Detroit, San Antonio. They had to beat, they beat San Antonio in double overtime. Right? Memphis. Yeah, so I get how they look on right now, right? But I mean, in Miami, they played Toronto the last 2 games of the season, and Toronto has been in Cancun since February, right? So my thing is bring on either, right? But if I had to pick one in a head-to-head matchup, I'm asking, are both teams talented? Yes. Right? Are both teams healthy? No. Right? Embiid got hurt in both Toronto games. Terry Rozier is I think a little hurt in Miami. I don't know if he's going to play or not. But my thing in a win, right. But in a winner take all, with all those things even, I'm gonna push it to the middle about the coaches. Which coach which coach will outperform the other in a winner take all type scenario, right? In terms of the seeding, right? Yeah. Nick Nurse is a championship level coach, right? I still have to give the nod to Eric Spoelstra, though. I have to give the nod to Spo because Nick Nurse is a mad scientist that will throw some things out there to kind of to rock the apple cart, so to speak. At the same time, though, I think Eric Spoelstra is probably the best in-game adjuster tactician in the NBA. With that said, I'm gonna go with Miami. In that sense against them. Not saying that Philly won't make the playoffs because I think they'll probably wind up being the 8th seed. But in the matchup against us, I think it's Knicks versus Miami, and we'll probably sweep them in a parade like setting where we're resting guys at the end of games type deal. Because the one thing Miami offers is playoff Hemi. And the one thing I noticed about the Knicks, the one thing I noticed that Leon Rose went and did, anticipating playoff Jimmy, he went out and got OG Anunoby. Right? Now, if you're telling me that OG Anunoby can't neutralize Jimmy Butler, then what is he here for? I think he will. Exactly. I don't even think it's a question that he will. And if we lose to the other dudes on the Miami Heat roster, then we shouldn't have been here in the first place. Right? If we could take out, if Rozier is not playing and Jimmy Butler is neutralized, if we lose to Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, then we have to have a different conversation about Tom Thibodeau. I don't think we will. That's worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But
and don't
that's
forget
the
Precious Achua can play Bam. I'm not saying you're
Right.
going to stop Bam Adebayo,
right.
but he can make it difficult for him.
Yes, man. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you could talk about playoff Jimmy all you want. He's not that type of offensive player. Like he's not a Tatum. He's not a Durant. So OG should be able to significantly, make a dent in his production.
He exploits matchups. That's what he. Last year we were guarding him with Quentin Grimes.
Right.
Last year we were guarding him with Josh Hart. This year we will be guarding him with OG Anunoby and potentially Precious. Potentially, I'm not saying I don't want to look at that matchup, but maybe,
right?
Maybe in switches, it may happen. So,
yeah, that's a great point. Whoever was next,
Jeff. Did Jeff go?
I think I'm the only. I don't know.
I don't think you gave an order.
Oh, I didn't give an order. Okay.
Golly, I really hate both teams. So from that standpoint, I think I'd have Miami's the 8th seed. I would rather play Miami from that perspective. And we played them last year. I think Philadelphia has more ways to beat you. I think Maxey is kind of a problem that we don't necessarily have a great solution for. Unless Deuce can provide that solution, but I don't think he's going to play enough minutes to be a legitimate answer consistently. I hear what Freezy's saying, that they had a pillow soft schedule down the stretch, but remember, San Antonio beat us, in the last 10 games of the season too. So, but I do think that Victor didn't play in that Sixers game, but I could be wrong about that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Terry Rozier scares me because he sees the Knicks and he goes off for 40, for whatever reason. He's a good player, I guess, but Spoelstra, that team's well coached, but I kind of agree with AJ, though. It would be nice to play Miami and beat Miami and just exercise those demons and get rid of that. I think that would be a good catapult for us as far as getting to the next round and having that behind us. Because I think when you're talking about your playoff journey, there's always those teams that you have to beat, right? And for the Pistons had to get past the Celtics, and the Bulls had to get past the Pistons, and the Knicks had to get past the Bulls, and the Pacers had to get past the Knicks, and on and on and on and on and on it goes, right? You can take that almost up to today if you played it forward, I think. So I think maybe Miami is one of those situations for us. So from that standpoint, let's kind of go in there and muck it up and get grimy. The only thing that worries me about a series with Miami is players getting hurt again. They're dirty, and they're not gonna feel bad about trying to hurt Jalen on purpose. And as hard as he goes, I would be concerned about that. I think they would be tugging at OG's elbow every chance that they got, especially Bam. And so the reason I bring that up is because you have to win the first series to get to the second, but you can't have a Pyrrhic victory in the first round where you don't have anything left in the second either. You know what I mean? So, I would rather play Miami just because I think Philly with Embiid, if Embiid was healthy, I think Philly probably would have been a 4 or a 5 seed at a minimum. And so having to play them at 7 in the first round would be I think, more difficult. And if that would be the Celtics' problem at 8, that would be fine with me.
Yeah, I don't, Jeff. If Embiid was healthy, Philly might have been the 2 seed.
Right. I was going to
4 or
say
5.
I was actually going to say the same thing.
Yeah. Queen B, you mind if I
I'm
ask
just saying much better. My only point was they would have been better than 7.
Than 7,
for sure, because he missed 2 months of the season, and they were only 3 games behind us in the standings. So, that shows you right there that in all. But we were without Julius Randle too, so I don't really, I don't see that as I mean, more impactful maybe because Embiid's a better player, but I mean, I think it's similar in a lot of ways.
Right, Freezy, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question about the reason why you asked the question, if you don't mind. And I want to preface it and not a way. I don't want to. Listen, I respect the question, but I want to ask this: did you ask that? Is it more about who the Knicks play at 7, or who you would like to see the Celtics play in the 8th seed?
It was more about just who you would want the Knicks to play at 7, but we did talk about this on the Queen's Court about, or I don't know if I talked about it on the Queen's Court or was it with Ajay or Tony.
I thought it was Tony. Well, okay.
We talked about having Miami go up against Boston and do what they do to Boston, and hopefully we could get past Philly and meet Miami in the second round. So I have talked about that.
Okay.
With somebody, but the question was really about who you think would be the best opponent for the Knicks, and I think the other question is, what would the Knicks need to do to beat any of those teams? Because I think when we think about the Knicks, we think about the Knicks at their very best going into the playoffs. We think about the Knicks with DiVincenzo hitting, with McBride coming off the bench, giving us the 3-point shooting, with Bojan coming in and giving us scoring off the bench. We're thinking about the Knicks, at their very best. And I agree. If the Knicks are at their best, even without Randle, we can get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But it remains to be seen, will the Knicks be at their best in the playoffs with Brunson as the best player and the other guys being high-level role players and not having anybody else that you can go to for a bucket, basically. So it'll be interesting. Well, what do the Knicks need to do to beat any one of those teams? What needs to fall in place for the Knicks to beat any one of those teams?
Well, hold on a second, because I didn't answer the.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Because I'm one of those people that usually don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you make the playoffs, regardless of who you face, you have to win in a 7-game series. It doesn't matter who you play. I am also the type of person that loves revenge and would like to beat the hell out of Miami.
That's right.
Because I don't think we would have lost to Miami last year if we can make a shot, or had players that can make a shot and step up, for the occasion. So I would like to see Miami again. I do not want to play the Sixers. The Sixers are actually the hottest team in the NBA right now. Embiid is, I don't know if he's 100% healthy, but he's healthy enough to still be unstoppable. The last couple of games that I've seen him play in the last week or so, they were both 30-point double-doubles with like 7-8 assists per game. So Ajay said, yeah, we don't have anybody for Embiid. Nobody has anybody for Embiid.
True.
So just cancel that out of your head. Like, don't even think about that. He's going to get his regardless. We just have to outscore them and, beat everybody else, because we're not going to be able to beat Embiid. That's not going to happen. Not no one-on-one. Mitch is not going to be able to play him. Neither is iHeart. Hopefully, we got a whole bunch of fouls. We got Sims to throw at them if we did have to play them. But I would definitely rather play Miami, just for the revenge and the story aspect of it. But I think we can beat either one, though.
Yeah, and OG for
Butler
as Freezy pointed out. The thing with Philly also, I forgot all about Lowry over there. And
Right.
Lowry, listen, as far as talent is concerned, he on the tail end of his career.
Right.
But in terms of toughness, in terms of them giving you a little more latitude in the, in the playoffs, he helps. Philly without Lowry to me is barbecue chicken. It's still barbecue chicken. It still could be, but I do think he helps them a little bit. I wanted to play Philly, but you guys are bringing up good points about matching up with Miami in the first round. Yeah, those are good points. Let me read the super chat. Then we'll just talk about what the Knicks need to do. What needs to fall in place for the Knicks to beat any one of these teams, and then we out of here. Paris Doug, appreciate you. It's either good enough or not. We don't need a fake run in the playoffs. Either we're a really good regular season out hustle and flow you team, or great something. I think he ran out of characters.
Hey, $5 can only get you but so far, Paris. I definitely get what he's saying. I get what he's saying though.
Yeah. Like people like, oh, we would just, we would have played Orlando. We could have got to the second round and it would have looked a little better in the offseason. Look, you either a championship team or you
right. Doesn't matter who you play. Because you're gonna have to play somebody good anyway. This is the playoffs. This is a 7-game series every series.
Another day.
Yeah.
Look, the Miami Heat won 46 ball games. Right. That's one less than the Knicks won last year, and we were the 5 seed.
Right. Yeah, it's not a lot of drop off game wise between 2 and 8. All of those seeds were up for grabs going into the last game of the season. It's not like years past 2 play 7 and there's a huge gap.
Right.
There was a lot of years where 7 had a losing record. Like the Eastern Conference was bad for a long time. There were a bunch of years where you were playing the 7 seed, you'd be playing the 34 or 38 and 44 Nets or somebody like that,
Right. Yeah, it's competitive all around. What needs to fall in place for the Knicks to beat either Miami or Philly?
I'll jump in first. Hit shots, and hit shots. As long as we hit shots, I think we can beat, not just beat, but we could definitely beat in any game, in any series. As long as we keep hitting shots. Like if Dante DiVincenzo and especially people like Deuce, if they're all shooting like 40% from the 3 and it actually stays like that, we're going to be a tough out, regardless of who we play.
Well, my key is, them slow starts we've been having. We cannot do that in the playoffs because there's no catching up, man. You fall down by 21 in the first quarter. You got to remember now we playing. These are the best teams in the league now. You play. They done weeded out all the bad teams.
Detroit and the Nets.
The Nets, exactly. So you start dropping. You start falling behind. By double digit in the first quarter. I mean, it's going to be hell to pay just to get back in the game. So we got to play defense. We cannot allow ourselves to fall behind in double digits at any point in the game, because it's going to be very, very tough to come back. And of course, like Jerrell said, you got to hit shots. You can't win if you don't hit shots. I don't care how great your defense is. You got to hit shots in order to win the game. So,
okay. And anybody else have any thoughts on what the Knicks need to do to beat any one of these teams? Salute, Quiet Money.
QM. Salute.
Quiet Money.
Freezy.
I really think.
Oh, Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
I really think that we need to have a good performances from Bogey off the bench. I think we don't need him for a ton of minutes, but we need him to be just like a microwave Vinnie Johnson kind of a guy. Showing my age here, I guess, but just a guy who comes in and can get 15 points in 15 minutes, or 12 points in 15 minutes, something like that. Just come in, hit a couple of big threes, be kind of the engine, so to speak, when Brunson is on the bench resting, which isn't going to be a lot of minutes, but those are still going to be important minutes. And if he can do that, And then, Josh Hart's rebounding, I think, is going to be massive. If he can continue to be a double-digit rebounder for us, he was the best rebounding guard in the league this year, which is really impressive to me. And so if he can
he was
continue,
better than Luka,
yeah,
this season. Wow. Okay. Wow.
not by much. I think it was really close, but I think I saw on Twitter the other day that he was the best rebounding guard in the league. So, and I'm not sure I consider Luka. I mean, Luka's kind of like a small forward. He plays point guard, but I mean, I don't know. But anyway, I guess you could argue that so does Josh Hart. So, but and just the all around game from Hart, and then really just the offense just continue to be creative with their cuts and what they've been doing with Hartenstein. Hartenstein's health is going to be a big deal. Like, I don't think we've talked about the health of our pivot enough. I mean, Mitchell Robinson, has not been able to really land very well since he tweaked that ankle the second time. He actually left the game. Now, he said he was okay. He was going to be working on his jumps all week, and hopefully that process continues and he's able to get back, because I don't think we need him for a lot of minutes, but if we can bookend him with iHeart for 48 minutes, I think that makes a massive difference into the team that we put on the floor, because again, I think it allows you to play more bogey. If he's, let's say, between OG and Mitch, I don't think you're going to have a problem defensively for that time on the floor. And we can put whatever backcourt players in there that you want to. I mean, probably DiVincenzo, but I think you got to have at least two starters on the floor at all time, regardless. But and I think you're going to see a shortened rotation, 7.5, 8 guys. I think you're going to see a lot of these guys playing 40 minutes because there's days off, days of rest between games. You're not having any of these back-to-backs anymore. I think one of the reasons, Hartenstein, before the game that he rested, the day that he rested, he played more than his minutes limit. Did y'all notice that? Yeah. Like, he had been playing his 28 as a max. He played the entire fourth quarter in that game prior, and a lot of people were like, "Why is he doing that?"
Against the Bulls, and then he sat out against Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And so he played that 31 minutes or whatever. And everyone was like, "Well, what are you doing? That game was a runaway. Why are you why are you playing him?" And I guess that there was a comeback or whatever. But anyway, the point being that I think that was kind of intentional to kind of see how see how he reacted to that, because they knew they were going to rest him anyway, and so they're kind of gearing that up. But I really think Hartenstein healthy makes a massive difference, because those stocks, when he was healthy, like when he was really out there and at 100%, the steals and blocks that he was getting on the defensive end was just a massive part about getting our engine rolling and getting us out in transition and doing a lot of the stuff that makes our scoring easier. Because I think if we can force some turnovers and turn those turnovers into easy baskets, that's going to help Jalen Brunson not have to. You know what I mean? Because that can help us find a second scorer, even if we don't have a second scorer. If you know what I mean.
All right, gotcha. Anybody else want to comment on just who?
So the question was what do we need to win, or what should we be aware of?
Well, what needs to fall in place for the Knicks to beat any of those teams, whether it's Philly or Miami?
Okay, all right. So what I would say, one of the things that I think we need to be cognizant of, and hopefully it will go our way, is how these games are being officiated, right? Are the Knicks allowed to be physical?
Mm-hmm.
Because if the Knicks are allowed to be physical in that playoff atmosphere, so to speak, I think that's advantage Knicks. And I don't care who the other team. I don't care if the other team is physical or not, right? It's one of those things. If you're a cage fighter, you just like fighting in the cage. It don't matter who the opponent is. Right. So I think that's one thing. The other thing, too, is how healthy we can stay throughout the playoff run. right? If we can stay healthy, I think our roster is better than most of the teams left in the playoffs, right? Like legit, if OG Anunoby is at about 80-85%, if Mitchell Robinson is about 80-85%, if Hartenstein is about 80-85%, if Hart is about 80-85%, he's got a new wrist injury that we don't really talk about that much. But if he's in that range of 80-85%, I think it doesn't matter what the other team does, because the Knicks are legit on this type of role, and not being. And I don't want to sound like I'm a champagne sipper. I'm not saying, I think the Knicks are going to go 16-0 in the playoffs. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if the officiating is if they allow teams to play physical, that fits right in our bag. And if we can stay healthy, that fits right in our bag, because unlike other teams that we'll be facing, we have a guy that can go off for 40 points on any night in the playoffs, regardless of the exotic defensive scheme or personnel package or time and score scenario that you throw out there. Jalen Brunson can go off for 40 against anybody. I'm confident in that. Right. The last thing I think that we should that I think will benefit us is teams had generally been beating the Knicks over the past couple of years or so, maybe past 3 or 4 years, because our roster turnover was significant, right? Like legit, we would go from Alec Burks starting at point to Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose, Fournier's the starter. Now it's Grimes. Now it's Dante. And so what happened is, I think in January and February, we figured it out. We figured out exactly what we want to do. We figured out exactly who we want to play and what roles we want them to play in. So where teams before had the built-in advantage because they had a core of people, i.e. Miami, they have Bam, Tyler Hero, and Jimmy Butler, and other teams, i.e. the Celtics with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and those guys, right? The Knicks didn't have that. Now that we have it figured out, I think now you'll see us be able to play a more fluid offensive set, right? And then, and I know I'm going to say this, Queen Bee, and I know it's going to be controversial, and I'm not trying to rock the boat or whatever, but as just as good as player as Jalen Brunson is on offense, I think OG Anunoby is that good or better on defense, right? And just by having a guy like that, because you remember last year when we couldn't get a shot, we couldn't get anybody to knock down a shot, and then they would come down on the other end and we couldn't stop them. This year, even if Brunson gets cold for a spell, and I'm not saying it'll happen, I don't think it will, but at least on the other end of the floor, we'll be able to stop somebody, right? So with all these things taken into account, and I guess what I'm saying is, and I know it's going to sound mad OD, and I'm not trying to go over the top, but I feel like this Knicks team has a good a shot of winning the championship as anybody. And I know it's about Miami and Philadelphia, right? But what I'm saying is I don't see Miami or Philadelphia being a threat to either of us, especially the way that THIBS drew up that defense against Joel Embiid, where he put up that worthless 30-10 and then left the game. He just got 30-10 and then left the game. He just did it to keep his streak alive, and we blew Philly out.
Randall played in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Steph, you muted.
Did everybody answered that question?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I think what the Knicks need to do is we need consistent secondary scoring, and we need to be good in the non-Brunson minutes.
Mm.
I think when we talk about the Knicks going to the championship and the Knicks doing this and the Knicks doing that, we're talking about the Knicks at their best. Right. And if we get the Knicks at their best, I'm all for it. If we get DiVincenzo knocking down 3-pointers, we get McBride coming off the bench hitting 3-pointers, like I said earlier, Bojan coming in knocking down 3-pointers, Precious coming down, being like a junkyard dog, getting deflections, playing good defense, rebounding, blocking shots. That Knicks team, beats either Philly or Miami 5 games. 5
Oh, you
games.
giving them 5?
I'm giving them 5. That Knicks team. However, during the season, that Knicks team has been inconsistent. Sometimes we get that Knicks team, sometimes we don't.
Right.
So it's going to depend on which Knicks team shows up. I'm very concerned, and I know Corey Lee ain't here today giving me the business yesterday because I talked about my concern about the Knicks' lack of a consistent secondary scorer, which to me is a legitimate concern. That's a lot of pressure being put on Brunson to score and facilitate. And these role players have to step up like they've done throughout the season. So I'm not saying they're not capable.
Right.
But in order for us to win, these role players, DiVincenzo, McBride, Bojan, Josh Hart, have to show up. You just leaving it on Brunson, that's not going to be enough. They have to show up. If they do that, Knicks in 5. I don't care who we playing. If McBride disappear or Josh Hart is neutralized or Bojan is the Bojan we've seen can't hit the side of a basket, or it's going to be a disaster. So it just really depends on who do we get to show up game in and game out to support Brunson, because we already know he's going to be there for us game in and game out. I don't care what the game plan is. He's going to be there.
Amen. So yeah, amen. I agree with you. And Cleve, just real quick, in that Philly game that we blew them out, they did exactly what you just said, where everybody showed up and played. And that game, Randall was like 1 for 55 or 1 for Randall. But Deuce was, I think Deuce scored in that game. I think so. Deuce was 4 of 8 for 15. Josh Hart was 10 with 15 rebounds. And Quentin Grimes, who's no longer here, but if we think that Bogey can fill in that spot of scoring off the bench, Grimes had 19 points and 8 rebounds in that game. So if Bogey can do what Grimes did in that scenario, I think I agree with you, Queen B. And stop stealing my. Are you looking at my notes?
No, I'm just saying everybody is talking about, we're going to do this. I'm like, listen, we got to talk about which Knicks team are we talking about, because we've been a little up and down throughout the throughout the season. Yes, JJ, I wonder how many minutes Tibbs will play Brunson in the playoffs, especially knowing how we struggle when he's off the floor. He might increase his minutes. I think he's playing 40 minutes a game, 38 to 40 minutes a game.
That's what I was actually going to say. I was going to say that I don't think it's going to be that many non-Brunson minutes. So I think we'll be all right. Like,
and for those who say
44, maybe upwards of 44.
More than 40. More than 40.
I'm with Jeff on that one. I'm thinking it might be more than that. I'm
42, 44.
Yeah. The thing about it, because there'll be some that'll say, well, it's just 10. It's only 8 non-Brunson minutes, or 10. What can happen in 8 to 10 minutes? A lot.
A lot. That's a ton.
A lot.
Three non-Brunson minutes killed us in Game 6 against Miami last year. So
3. It wasn't even 3.
Yeah, it was about a minute and a half.
It's like, Jerrell, it was like 90 seconds.
Yeah, it was like 90 seconds.
In the first quarter.
Right. And I was mad that he did it. I was like,
and all of that, and all of that happened because the game before that, Bam Adebayo rolled up on Quickly ankle and had Quickly out for the series.
Yeah, and the game before that, he hurt Quentin Grimes.
Yeah.
The one before that, he hurt Randall. Like,
right. Sherwin is really concerned about Philadelphia. The Sixers put Kelly Oubre on Brunson most of the game. I don't care who you put on Brunson. Now, if you want to say a longer player he has to work a little harder, and as with the intensity of the playoffs, as you get down to the last minute or two, maybe his shot falls a little short. Perhaps. But I don't think it matters who you put on Brunson.
He can score on Caruso. He can score on Oubre.
I think
and do you really want to waste Oubre's versatility in a 7-game series by having him use all his defensive energy to stop Brunson, who he may hold to 32 points?
Right.
Queen.
I'd rather him do that than shoot the ball.
Guys, I can imagine other teams like fans listening to us be like, man, they really hate us for a reason because we think we all that.
Hey,
Queen just said, we taking Philly in 5.
Right. If everybody shows up.
Yeah, and Freezy said, "Oh, you giving him 5?
Yeah, I'm giving him 3.5."
hey, man. Hey.
My concern is the clock striking 12, and then all of a sudden, we can't get players to step up consistently.
Yep.
That's my thing. We're gonna need.
I'll tell you what, though, especially on the road, DiVincenzo and Hart are gonna love playing in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because that's where that's like second home to them. So if we get Philly, you're gonna see probably good Devo and good Hart, I would think, for at least the games on the road. I don't know what they'll do at home, but role players tend to play better at home. So
yeah. So, and I think we all agree Brunson has to average over 30 points in a series.
Oh, easily, yes.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why to anticipate him not. He was averaging 38 a game over the last 10 or something like that. So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I expect that to continue.
Yeah, but over the last 10, there was some Chicago sprinkled in there. There was some Brooklyn sprinkled in here. We gonna need that against Miami or
Look, Chicago has Caruso who can guard as well as anybody on Miami or Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Right.
So, well, let's see how that works.
We played him 3 times and lit him up like a pinball machine.
But the thing about playing better teams, though, is there's outlets. They could take away outlets. For Brunson. Listen, Brunson's still going to average over 30, but it's a difference between you lighting up one player and playing a team that's a really good team defensively. Both Miami and Philly have been coming, and it depends on who they played. I have to look at their schedule.
Brunson set Miami on fire last year.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Spoelstra has been looking for answers to that man and hadn't come up with one yet. And he's, best defensive coach of the league. So good luck. I mean,
it's not
no
about
matter what.
Brunson. It's not going to be about Brunson. It's going to be about everybody else.
I agree.
All right. You can give Brunson 40. What is the rest of the team?
Better shooters than we had last year, like across the board. I mean, DiVincenzo's a better outside shooter. OG's a better outside shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Deuce has been a better outside shooter. So I mean, there's just Bogey's a better outside shooter.
Right.
I'm not going to give Alec Burks any credit at this point.
Yeah, but you gotta hit the shots. I mean, we all know what we have in terms of those guys, and if we hit the shots, we good money.
Make shots.
Yeah, and you know what, Quimby? I think it's. I understand where you're coming from. I just want to add this to it though. I think the gravity of a healthy Hartenstein threatening the paint, right, will give us more spacing on the floor through gravity. That the gravity that Randall usually gives us around the painted area. Now, Hartenstein is not an all-star like Randall, right? And so no disrespect, but I do want to show Hartenstein some love. I think that floater that he has, that for where he catches it right in front of the free throw line or whatever, and those backdoor passes where he hitting guys, I think that opens up.
Yes, it does.
Some of those 3-point shots that we get from the corner in the wing area where we didn't have that last year. Right. And that was kind of like our Achilles heel, so to speak, where we couldn't get open shots because the Miami Heat didn't have to respect every inch of the floor. I think by having 3-level scorers now, or 3 levels of offense now, right, where you have Hartenstein with his floater, where you have OG Anunoby attacking the rim from anywhere on the floor, and guys that can spot up and knock down wide open run threes, and then Brunson doing his thing. I think we're a different looking offense than what these teams have seen in the past. Now, the only thing is what we look like in the regular season versus what we look like in the playoffs, maybe two different things. But I will say this. I trust these young 25, 26, 27-year-old veterans in this situation more than I trusted our young guys last year that was doing it for the first time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Absolutely, no doubt about it. And, you bring up a very good point, Freezy, that has me now leaning toward Miami. Devo can attack a closeout. So that makes a difference, as well. He can attack a closeout and create. Devo cuts backdoor, OG cuts backdoor, and you have a Hartenstein who can take advantage of that and exploit that. So you're right in terms of whoever we play have to respect every inch of the floor because of the versatility that we have. And that definitely helps us.
Right. And now you don't have their offensive players resting on defense like they used to do to us.
Right.
Also. But just one more thing about the attacking, though. So Josh Hart attacks to move the ball, right? But now with the OG Anunoby, now you're attacking the defense to punish the defense. And that's what OG does. OG Anunoby can attack the defense and punish them at the rim, right? And I say punish. Punish is a strong word, but basically I'm saying shots at the rim, right? OG getting shots at the rim, Dante attacking the rim, and things of that sort. So and I'm just gonna do the last year was last year thing. Last year's team was a different team.
Right.
We were very young. This year is a young veteran team where guys are 26, 27, 28, 29 years old. Right. And for the most part, the guys that we've added have a ton of playoff experience.
Right.
They have a ton of NBA experience. The only guy in our rotation that we may have questions about is Deuce McBride, but he's not the focal point of our rotation. He's a complementary piece. And if he just gives us what he normally gives us, then we'll be fine. I think where we may need guys to step up and process the game as things happen are the guys that are going to be on the floor with Brunson when they're throwing the exotic zones and traps at Brunson, forcing the ball out of Brunson's hands. Right. They double team Brunson. Can we get it to Isaiah Hartenstein in the paint in a one-on-one against a Bam or Joel Embiid? We like that matchup because even if he misses, it jeopardizes their center, putting their center in foul trouble or pulls them away from the basket.
Right. Great points, Freezy. Great points. Any last words before we get out of here?
I'd like to say a couple things.
Sure.
First of all, Freezy, thanks for coming on board with us, man. You're a superstar. We appreciate you rocking with us on a Tuesday. This was kind of a cool deal. So looking forward.
The club is up on a Tuesday. The club is going up on a Tuesday. That's for all the DJs out there. If you don't know nothing about music, I'm sorry.
Oh, you know what? I wanted to play this real quick. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to see Mark Jackson's comment on the Knicks. So we were on the show last night. We were talking about this is Queens Court and nothing but Knicks. If the Knicks lost in the first round, would it be a disappointment? And I know me, and I think it was Jeff, I'm not sure, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, thought the Knicks are playing with house money. Like we going into the playoffs without Julius Randle. And I'm not saying we can't win, but if it proves to be too much for us and the other guys don't show up for whatever reason, I'm okay. Would I be hurt? Yes, but it's not going to be that. Lady and the Chef was like, listen, and
yeah, I was about to say, I completely disagree with that.
Yeah, was like, I don't care who we going into the playoffs with. I was like, and Philly is a good team. The only reason they're in the 7th seed is because Embiid was hurt, whatever. We don't have Randall. She was like, listen, I don't care. The Knicks need to get out of the first round no matter what. So I found this clip. This is Mark. It's a little under 2 minutes, so hopefully it's not.
Without Julius Randle, for me, I think it's gonna be tough. What's your opinion?
There's no excuses.
I mean, you were the number 2 seed, and Julius Randle missed a lot of the season. Jalen Brunson played incredible basketball. That supporting cast did an outstanding job. They're extremely well coached with Tom Thibodeau. They got a lot to be proud of. And my mentality, if I'm them, is why not us? There's other teams hobbled. There's other teams not playing with the type of rhythm that the Knicks have right now. The mindset should be win, advance, and live to see another round. So I wouldn't. I'd be disappointed if they had any other mindset. They're playing great basketball. They compete at a high level. They defend at a high level. Jalen Brunson, I don't know how you defend him. He now all of a sudden, you watch him down the stretch, he's a willing passer. Teams are double teaming him. He's embracing the double team, dropping the passes off, making guys better, putting them in position to make and take big time shots. They're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, the impressive thing for me when I watch him is the amount of attention he gets for a guard that's his size. It's dudes like Luka walking around at 6'7", 6'8". It's dudes that are at the point guard position that have real size. And to see a guard that's a natural point guard make moves like that is different.
And tough. Like, he's not out there trying to be a boy.
Yeah.
You know, he's an assassin. You know, he's fun to watch. He's better than his father. I mean, his father, I used to cross him over and kill him after practice every day.
Hey, you got shots today.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, his dad was limited. You know, trash talking, lefty, couldn't shoot, tough, but just an overachiever.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Overachievers is good. You an overachiever too.
Don't you put us in the same line. No.
Yeah, don't do that.
Wow. But basically,
throwing some shade at
yeah.
Right, though, but don't do that.
Basically saying no excuses for the Knicks. Whether Julius Randle is there or not, no excuses. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that you wouldn't be disappointed, Steph. To be honest, because
I would be disappointed, but I wouldn't feel like it was that was the question. Is it, if the Knicks don't get out of the first round, is it a failed season given that they won 50 games? I wouldn't see it as a failed season. Would I be disappointed? Absolutely. But would I consider it a failed season? I would not.
And there are levels to disappointed, right? There's upset on one end,
yes,
and let down on the other end,
right?
Right. And so when you look at it that way, just you of course, anytime your team is eliminated from the playoffs, you're gonna be let down. Anytime your team loses in the playoffs, anytime your team loses the game, period, there may be a level of letdown. Now, will we be upset, raging, mad? Nah, because most teams that have players that miss this many games, they pack it in January and see what they can get out of the lottery. Right? We chose to fight. Right? And understanding that, right? Understanding that we have to understand that this is the new normal for us. This is our culture. We're not going down without a fight. This is our new culture. It is the reason why y'all ask, why's Tibbs still got them in the game with 2 seconds left and we up by 40, right? Because we want to win at all costs. This is our new culture. And we have to embrace it, whether we agree with it or not, right? You don't have to agree with it, but understanding this is who we are this is who we are. Queen B, I got to get out of here. I'm gonna holler at y'all later. Thank y'all for having me. Peace, everybody.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Later, Freezy.
Yeah, I disagree, but I would be disappointed, no doubt, but I definitely disagree. Philly, this is not the normal 2-7 matchup. It's just not. But anyway, Jerrell, you wanted to say something?
I was just gonna say, to me, if you're confident that this team, if they play right, can get to the Eastern Conference Finals at least, to me, like, it would have to be a failure. I don't care who we
You
play.
think this team without Randle can get to the Eastern Conference Finals?
I thought that's what we all thought, right? No, you don't think we can get to the Eastern Conference Finals? Oh, okay.
I mean, listen, I think a lot of things would have to fall into place. I'm not saying it's impossible.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot would have to fall into place for it to happen. To me, I think not having Randle in the playoffs is significant. I'm not saying we can't do it, but I'm saying it makes it harder for us without him.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess maybe for me, the only team I don't want to say worried about because it's the playoffs, but Boston, and that's it. Like, if we do beat Philly in say we play Philly first round, who will we play in the second? It would have to be
Indiana or Milwaukee.
It would have to be Indiana or Milwaukee. And the way that we've been talking, no way you would say that we would lose to either one of them right now in a 7-game series. I don't see it. So I expect us to get to the Eastern Conference Finals at least.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
If we had Randall, you should know my thoughts if we had Randall. If we had Randall, that's a completely different story.
Yeah.
Then we could have that phone ring, right?
Yep. Ring, ring. Yep. Yep.
I love it. I would definitely be disappointed. The question was phrased as, would it be a failure? And my answer was, well, it depends on the context. I mean, in other words, if you're playing a really good Philadelphia team and in other words, if we don't beat ourselves, in other words, we go out there, we play Knick brand basketball, we play hard, and they just outplay us. And we can't just sit here and say that's an impossibility. Right. I think that's arrogance to say that there's no way that roster that Philadelphia has can't outplay our team. I think that's just is it the definite? No, but is it a possibility? Yes. I mean, there's a lot of good basketball players in that locker room. So, now if we get run out the series in 4 games, yes, that's a failure.
No doubt.
That's a failure.
How you lose,
right?
There's context, but if you go to 7 games and Embiid hits a buzzer beater, and you're like,
that does change.
So that was my whole point.
Because you can see it. Like if you see Brunson out here by himself, and we still made it to Game 6.
So if everybody did show up, and in Jeff's scenario, we lose in the 7-game series, I completely get that. That makes total sense. I'm not freaking out over that. You're right.
Right. And JJ has asked, would you feel different if we played Indiana and Orlando in the first round and lost? Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's different.
I think you're taking into account the tough matchup. I am taking into account the tough, the tough matchup. Like people are just thinking first round. They're not thinking the fact that if we play Philly, that's not a usual first round matchup. That's a second round matchup. That's
Miami's kind of the same thing because they're, they kind of do that, right? They look like they just mess around until it's playoff time, and all of a sudden, we're upsetting the 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks and the Knicks and the Celtics, 3 straight and go to the finals. And it's not like they've just done that once. They've done it about 2 or 3 times in the past, 5 or so years. So, So Miami kind of has that same vibe to them, even though they're not like Orlando and Indiana are both less experienced teams than us. So to lose to them, I think that would be different because I think it's odd to say that it's just kind of topsy-turvy the way things kind of played. I would actually even include Cleveland in that. Like if we had played Cleveland in the first round and we lost this year, I would have been disappointed by that, even without Julius Randle. Right. But to me, and maybe it's the boogeyman and Pat Riley with Miami, and maybe it's just too much respect for Joel Embiid. I don't know, but to me, those are not normal 7 seed either way. But it's not a normal 7 seed situation. I mean, it's like if you lose to LeBron's Lakers as a 7 seed, it's still LeBron James with Anthony Davis, right? That's not chopped liver.
And that's all I'm trying to say, Jeff, that this is not a normal 2-7 matchup. So I can't get super upset. Oh, we lost in the first round as if we played Brooklyn. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. B-baller for real. We added offense, defense, and ball movement, sans Randall, and 150 for the number 2. Listen. The regular season and the playoffs is 2 different things. When it comes to the playoffs, usually the teams with the best players win. We're going into the playoffs with Brunson as our best player and with no definitive number 2 player. Can we stop with the ball movement as if this is gymnastics and you get extra points for moving the ball? Okay? It means nothing in the playoffs unless guys are hitting shots. We got the number 2 seed on the last game of the season. And listen, I'm not taking anything away from the Knicks. I wanted that game bad. I was in there in that Chicago game pissed off. They just giving the game away. I wanted the 50 wins. I wanted the number 2 seed. But the Knicks could have fell to 5. So let's not act like we're the number 2 seed and we head and shoulders above the rest. We could have landed anywhere from 2 to 6, maybe 2 to 4 on that last day. We got the 50 wins. A lot of them games was against Chicago, against Brooklyn, and I'm not taking anything away from the Knicks. The only thing I'm trying to point out is there is a lot of parity in the NBA this season, and that there isn't a big drop-off between number 2 and number 8. That's the only thing I'm saying. This is not the usual 2-7 year from 5 years ago. And I'm not saying I don't believe in the Knicks. If everybody shows up, we beat Philadelphia. If everybody shows up, in 5 games. If everybody shows up, we beat Miami.
In 5 games.
In 5 games. I'm just pointing out that it's going to be, it may be a bit harder for us without Julius Randle. Even if Randle hasn't performed in the playoffs, I believe he would have this year. And I believe if we had Randle on this team,
even bad Julius Randle makes us a completely different team.
Wow.
We'd be beating the hell out of teams with a bad Julius Randle right now. Say if he averaged 19 instead of 25. Do you know that 19 points, what that would do to us?
That's why.
Yeah, but Jerrell, not only the 19 point, but other guys would be more open to score more.
Yes.
To make plays.
But other guys are more in their more natural roles. You're not depending on guys who are better as 25-minute-a-game players as 40-minute-a-game players. No disrespect meant to Josh Hart, but Josh Hart is perfect as a 25-minute-a-game player, just because of the type of player that he is. If you're, in other words, you don't have to. And if the matchups work out where he's playing great, that's fine. But I'm just saying that you don't have to rely on him as much because you're getting 40 minutes of Julius Randle at the 4 spot, and so then you can play OG at the 3, which and DiVincenzo at the 2, Brunson at the 1. You've got your spacing. You've got 2 killers out there. You've got a lot going for you in that lineup, and the bench players go back to their bench roles, and that's really good for us.
That's the point I'm trying to make. This team was built to play around Julius Randle and Brunson. That's why they got rid of RJ Barrett. That's why they got rid of Quickly. They felt like they didn't need somebody more on-ball players. We need more off-ball players that we can put around these guys. You take Randle away, you are asking these guys to do more than they were brought in to do. I'm not saying they can't do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying you're asking them to do more than they were brought in to do in a tougher situation. And it remains to be seen whether or not they can do it. Listen, we had this same balloons and fanfare going into last year's playoff, and like a fart in a dust storm, soon as we got to the first round, 4 players fell off the map. We didn't know where they were. You know what I mean? It's the intensity of the playoffs. Now to Freezy's point, these are young veterans now.
Mm-hmm.
These are players with playoff experience. So I'm not expecting anybody to drop off because of the intensity. But I do want to acknowledge that the playoffs is a different type of intensity than the regular season. That's all.
And one other thing that Julius Randle does that I think goes under the radar, he gets wide open 3-point catch and shoot opportunities for Jalen Brunson that he does not see when Julius Randle is off the floor.
Yep.
If you look at the number of wide open catch and shoot 3-point attempts that he gets now that Randall is gone versus what he got before, it's like it's they're not existent anymore. His shot diet from out there, not that he's not making them at a good percentage still, he is, but those easy shots those types of attempts have gone away because he doesn't get them anymore because we don't have anybody who commands a double team. And it's nice to get Brunson some easy opportunities like that where he doesn't have to work, like a madman.
He's working like a construction worker.
Yeah.
He's out there, working so hard, trying to create for himself, create for others, because we don't have that secondary guy. And I just want to say, Queen, you always point out the positive and negative. Listen, the positives outweigh the negatives. If you're going to come here and you're going to tell me that the few times or whatever it is that he doesn't get back on defense, the inopportune turnovers, I see that those outweigh what he brings to the team. It doesn't. I see it. I get what you're saying. There are negatives with Julius Randle, but they do not outweigh the positives, period, point blank. And there is nothing anybody can say that's going to make me feel otherwise. Julius Randle on this team right here, we are a better team. We were 15-2 in January. 15-2.
I was going to say that we've seen what it looks like.
With OG, Randle, and Brunson, we were 15-2. He went down January 27th, and February we were 4-8. Him and OG, sorry. We were 4-8. So you don't like Randle? Great. You don't like Randle. There is negatives with him? Yes, there is. But there's negatives with other players on this team too. Precious, there's negatives. He's one-dimensional. Mitch, there's negatives. He's one-dimensional. You can pick any player on this team, you're going to find some negatives. Randle on this team, this is a championship contending team this season with Randle, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Now, can we get there without him? Yes, we can. But a lot has to fall in place. With him, you know what I mean? And you just can't convince me that this team is better without Julius Randle. You can't convince me of that.
Saying a team is better without one of their all-stars doesn't really make any sense, regardless of who the player is.
That doesn't make sense, man.
Doesn't make sense at all.
Can we do it without him? Yeah. Is our chances better with them? Hell yeah.
A Mustang and a Lamborghini are both sports cars, but they ain't the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they ain't the same.
They ain't the same.
Right. And it'll be easier for Brunson. We saw what happened to Brunson in Miami. Yeah, he still averaged, 38, whatever he averaged against Miami, but he was working. He had to work for it. We seen him even this season down the stretch. The Knicks 150 game. Brunson was working. Come on. Randle would make it easier for him.
The Randle slander is crazy, y'all. I don't get that at all. I just don't get. I mean, he's literally one of the top 5 players we've had this century. Like,
I just thought about that. It's 12:30. I'm not arguing, Jordan.
Yeah. We not.
What are we doing?
I agree with
that.
If somebody don't see Julius Randle's worth, man,
it's all good.
It's only 2 people in the chat anyway, so we don't need to give them so much energy to those 2 players.
Queen,
the Knicks are better with Julius Randle on this team, and it's not even a question.
Before we get out of here, I want to say something real quick. What is, man, the media, like, why do they hate the Knicks so much? Like, those TNT clowns, the ESPN, like, what is it with them? I don't get it.
I don't think they hate us. I think
Jerrell, they refuse to say anything positive about the Knicks.
But saying positive stuff doesn't really move the needle, though. You got to think about what their job is. They're there
to entertain it. They want to get you going, Ajay, and you're letting them.
Right.
You're getting the exact reaction that they want.
Like,
in other words, it's like Howard Stern. There's some people when Howard Stern was on the radio that listened to Howard Stern because they loved Howard Stern. And then there were some people who listened to him on the radio because they hated Howard Stern. And they just wanted to know what he was saying and what was going on. But you have those two, that dichotomy. It's like all press is good press. You know, they don't care. They know that that Knicks for clicks is a thing. They know that they can just badmouth the Knicks. And first of all, TNT, Kenny Smith played for the Rockets and played against the Knicks in the finals. So he doesn't have any love for the Knicks. Shaq played against Patrick and for the Magic when he played. They couldn't stand the Knicks. And the Knicks used to own Barkley. He probably still has a tattoo of our footprint on his rear end from when he played for the Sixers. So I remember I lived in the Allentown area at that time we used to clobber Philadelphia on the regular when Barkley was there.
But you are media sports. It shouldn't be personal.
Yeah,
You're in the media. You can see it for your own eyes. So basically what you're saying is you're allowing whatever you have going on personally about the Knicks to impact what you're seeing in front of your own eyes.
Well, what other explanation is there?
Put it
that
like
makes sense is what I'm saying. What else makes it? In other words, if you're just objectively looking at it basketball wise, what they're saying doesn't make a hill of beans sense. I mean, to just Shaq and Charles basically said there was no way the Knicks could beat the Pacers in a 3-6 matchup if that's what happened. Like, what? There's no evidence for that. There's no statistical basis on that. I mean, the Pacers haven't won a playoff game with Tyrese Halliburton yet. We don't know what they're going to be. So to say that definitively is nonsense.
Oh, and Shaq immediately agreed. I agree with you, Chuck.
Well, I just put it like this: all of this stuff has to be personal with them. They are in media. They're not journalists. There's two different.
That's true.
Yeah, but
they're not writing anything. They're not sports.
But Kenny Smith of all, I mean, I understand he played for the Rockets, but you're from New York. You're a point guard. There's a brotherhood of point guards that you got to show some love to Jalen Brunson. I mean, it's just.
I think he wanted the Knicks front office job, and he got turned down for it, and so I think there's some history there too. So.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I'm just saying, like, you need to check. Like, you could be like, listen, I don't even like the Knicks, but I can't ignore what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe you're right. The expectation is too high.
Yeah, man. It's the two dudes talking just like we are.
Yeah.
Well, but the other day they were even saying Shaq's response to Kendrick Perkins was, "Well, we're in the Hall of Fame." And you're not, so your opinion doesn't matter.
Well, stuff like that is always going to happen.
Just stuff like that. I mean, it's like, so yeah, it's very personal for themselves. They're very ego-driven. It's not a surprise. Michael Jordan was that way.
I'm sure Perk will ask Charles Barkley how many rings does he have over him, though.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
So it always goes back and forth and stuff like that.
The thing about Perk, forget what he's saying about Jalen Brunson. He comes across to me as somebody who watches the games, studies basketball, and has a thoughtful opinion. Barkley has even said, I don't even watch these games. You think when I'm not on TNT watching these games, I'm sitting at home watching, but keep that to yourself.
Yeah, they personality.
Keep that to so they just sitting there just because they're a personality.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what it is. So you're right in terms of being a media and journal. They're just personalities who've played the game, who's just sitting here sprouting off what they think without actually watching the games. Like, come on.
That's actually their title. They're media personalities.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you're right. But they've played the game though. So I don't know. I expect a bit more.
Yeah, that's the part I don't get. They played the game. They've been in the trenches with whatever. I don't get it.
Yeah, that don't mean nothing. Like they're still people. They could just be wrong.
Right.
It happens. Like it happens.
Yep. Adrian basically saying they're entertainers.
Yeah, they're media personalities.
Like Stephen A. Smith.
They're not up there just to spit facts. They're there to give their personality, their takes. That's what it all.
It's not like they're held accountable if they're wrong. So have whatever opinion you want, right? It's kind of like being a weatherman. You don't have to be right. You just get up there and say your thing, and then you go about your business.
Or you can be like Stephen A. Smith, who was a journalist. Now he's a media personality.
Right.
He's not a journalist anymore. He doesn't write anything.
Right.
The stuff that he say doesn't have to be fact based.
Right. Yeah. All right. Any last words? Today is Tuesday.
Yeah.
You gotta go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I gotta go work tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Queen. This was great. Thank you, chat. What a great show. Jerrell, it's so good to have you back, my brother. We missed you.
Thank you.
And Ajay, keep it rocking, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll be back Thursday with the playoff preview. Philly and Miami play tomorrow. So by the Thursday show, we will know who we play and we can do a deep dive into that.
Well, maybe everybody can get injured and then we can play like their fourth stringers for 4 games and get out easy.
For sure. All right. We out with the short extra next time.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Don't
Where you at? Where you at?
Don't